Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Higurashi When They Cry Chapter 3. In the last episode, Keiichi did it. He managed to successfully lure Satoko's uncle out into the wilderness and then kill him with Satoshi's bat. And then after going back and forth getting rid of the evidence and then covering up the guy's body out in the woods, he basically decided to try to go home. But on his way back, he ran into, of all people, Takano, who was apparently driving from somewhere down the street, and well, they just so happened to meet down the very street that Keiichi was going down to get back to home. And long story short, she offered to give him a ride home, which he took. But on the way back, she made a very interesting joke, which we assumed it was a joke at first, but now I'm not so sure. But anyway, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. How if you don't basically bury a body deep enough in the woods, wild dogs can find it, take some of its parts with them, and if they happen to go near human civilization, humans might discover said bones. Police might get involved, start looking in the woods for a human body, and well, the body would eventually be discovered. This understandably unsettled both me and Keiichi, and made me wonder if she actually somehow knew what we ended up doing that night. But Keiichi anyway, initially came to the conclusion that she must have been making a very off-color joke, but me, I wasn't so sure. And after we got back to his house, and well, we tried to basically part ways, Keiichi couldn't help but ask about a little fold-up bike that she had in her car, and bring up how very similar it looked to a bike that he saw Tomotaki riding around earlier the day before. And well, Takano's reactions to the whole thing, and the roundabout way that she conversed with us about the whole subject really raised a few eyebrows, to say the least. In fact, she didn't even come out right out of the gate and just say that the bike was hers, which she eventually ended up saying it was doing. She ended up asking all kinds of questions, trying to point out how it would be strange for his bike to be in her car without him either being in it, and getting around Hinamizawa without a bike, and with him being an outsider and all, and not having a rest and breakfast place to stay at, would make getting around town really inconvenient for him. But it was this line of conversation that really just stood out to me as being very odd, to say the least. Because if the bike really was hers, I don't understand why she didn't just come out right out and say that right off the get-go, along with basically saying that it was a bike that Tomotaki had picked out for her. If she just let out with that right out of the gate, rather than just everything else she spoke about right before then, and not giving me the hawk-eyed stare, I probably would have been a lot less suspicious about her. But well, yeah. And then finally, right before we actually left, she basically kept insisting to Keiichi that we never met each other tonight. And that's when Keiichi and I basically understood that, well, she was basically the same as Keiichi right then and there. And what I mean by that is, well, long story short, she's probably done some dirty business very similar to what Keiichi did that night of her own, and was perfectly willing to get rid of any inconvenient witnesses if she felt the need to, much like Keiichi was. So that pretty much stands to reason that, well, she probably killed somebody tonight during the Watanagashi Festival. And well, my theory is maybe it has something to do with Tomotaki. Maybe not. Maybe she didn't do anything directly, but, well, after going over everything that we talked about right before she ended up leaving, and you know, the bike being in the back of her car and all that, I pretty much came to the conclusion that maybe she dropped him off somewhere. That was the most logical conclusion I could come to, because, well, as she herself pointed out, Toмотaki just going around town without his bike wouldn't really make sense. So, yeah. But yeah, that's assuming that she wasn't telling the truth about the bike not being hers and all that. But, well, I don't think she's telling the truth. Yeah, I did. I feel like I'm kind of going a bit all over the place here, but at this point, I really think that Takano is someone I need to keep a very close eye on. In fact, I've been kind of thinking on and off about what I remember of my interactions with her, even the previous 2 chapters, and I think that maybe she might have something to do with what happened to Toмотaki in the last two chapters. But before I can be at least somewhat certain about that, I need to see what happens to Toмотaki after we hit continue. Like, is he still alive? Or if he's not alive and he's actually dead, how exactly did he die? Depending on how he died, or if he died at all, I think then I think maybe then I could make a somewhat more firm determination on how to proceed thinking about Takano. Maybe. Because before then, I didn't have any idea that she could have been in possession of his bike at any point before Chapter 3. And so, with this information, along with basically the whole encounter, I really am starting to think that maybe she's suspicious. She might have had something to do with it. But like I said, it all depends. It will all depend on what happens to Toмотaki from this point on. If he ends up dying the same exact way, then I'm gonna really be giving Takano the hard evil eye from now on. But anyway, I've been going on for 8 minutes doing a recap. I am dead sorry for rambling, but a lot ended up happening towards the end. Yeah. Whatever, I'm just gonna go over the tips now. Fire from Hell. Hello. Do you need the hospital or the fire department? The fire department. Is there a fire or some other accident? Please speak slowly and calmly. I think it's a fire. This is the blank rest area on the blank highway. I can see a ton of fire and smoke coming up from the mountains behind us. Fire and smoke. Wait, where's this? Is this outside the prefecture? Because if that's the case, is Takano in a barrel somewhere burning right now? Nobody goes back there, so I don't know why anything got lit on fire. Anyway, I figured I should let you know. It could turn into a forest fire. I understand. I need to know exactly where you are, so please tell me your name, a phone number we can use to get in touch with you, and the exact location of the fire.
消防司令部より通達 G ブロック西側山斜面にて不審火の通報あり
Notice from the fire department headquarters. We have a report of a suspicious fire on the western slopes of the blank mountain.
街道から離れていることから、カップルの焚き火か不法投棄のゴミに放火したかの可能性があります。
Given its distance from the road, it could be a couple's bonfire or someone unlawfully burning trash.
現場は深い森林地帯。周辺に民家はないが、延焼の可能性あり。
The location is deep in the woods. No homes in the area, but the fire could spread.
直ちに現場を確認されたし。
Immediately go to the site to verify.
消防署ですか。こちらは G ブロック第3消防分隊です。
Is this the fire station? This is the Blank District Fire Department branch.
通報の現場にさっき到着。
We arrived moments ago at the reported area.
ドラム缶が一つ山中に放棄され、炎上しているのを確認しました。
Fire confirmed to be a burning oil drum left in the mountains.
火は鎮火しつつあり、延焼の可能性はなし。
The fire is calming and there's no chance it will spread.
で、
And, well,
ドラム缶の中に多分
in the oil
人じゃ
drum,
ないかと思うんです。人らしきものが灯油か何かで焼かれたという感じで。
I think it might be a person. Like a person burned with kerosene. Or something.
その警察の人にも連絡した方がいいんじゃないかと思いまし
Well,
て。
I think maybe we should get the police over here.
間違いねえよ。
There's no mistaking it.
これ人だよ。
This is a person. A person found in an oil drum, probably outside the prefecture again, just like in Chapter 2. So that's the same as Chapter 2, and yet not the same as Chapter 1. So we have one parallel between this chapter and Chapter 2 right here. Now the question is it Takano who is in the oil drum? Now what about Tomitaki? What's his deal? Victim of the 5th year, and I recognize the street. Is this for him?
今年のたたりってことっすかね。
This year's curse, then.
そういうことになるんですかね。毎年いろんな殺し方を見せてくれますが、今年は特に際立っていますね。
That's what it looks like. He kills them differently every year, but this is particularly conspicuous, isn't it?
自分で自分の喉をかき破るなんて
Clawing out your own
普通じゃ
throat.
ないっす。
That isn't normal. It's gotta be Tomitaki.
あとは鑑識のじい様に任せましょう。きっと何かの怪しげな薬物を検出してくれるに違いありません。
Let's leave the rest up to the old man in forensics. I'm sure he'll find some suspicious drugs.
お疲れ様です。お疲れ様です。
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work.
あ、おいさん、小宮山さんたちが到着しました。
Oh, Oushi-san. Komiyama-san and the others have arrived.
大石さん、お疲れ様です。今年は一等来てるのが出たらしいじゃないですか。
Oushi-san, much appreciated. Well, it would seem we have a pretty crazy one this year.
裏をかかれました。
Yes, we've been outsmarted.
私はてっきり今夜死ぬのは北条哲平だとばかり思ってたんですがね。
I was absolutely under the impression Teppei Hojo would get killed tonight.
仏は何者です？
Who is the deceased?
富武二郎。
Jiro
年に何回
Tomitaki,
かひなみ沢に来てる趣味の写真家さんです。
a photographer of a hobby for coming to Hinamizawa a few times a year.
ノーマークだったな。
We didn't even have him marked.
どうなんでしょうね。北条宅にずっと張り付いてたのがバレて、ターゲットを変更したとか。
I wonder what happened. Did they realize we were watching the Hojo residence the whole time and decide to switch their target?
かなぁ。恨めったな。
Well, shit, if they were watching the Hojo residence, then there might be a chance that somebody seen him leave, head towards the forest, and then once they find out that he hasn't returned... Oh boy, Keiichi, you might want to watch your back. Maybe. We sure flubbed this one.
で、北条哲平の方は何も問題なし。
And there are no problems with Teppei Hojo.
ねえ、夕方頃に娘が祭りに出かけて、その少し後にバイクで出かけまして。
Correct. His daughter left for the festival in the evening, and a little while later, he left on his motorbike.
先に娘が帰ってきて、あれ？
His daughter came back first. Wait,
まだ帰ってないかな？
has he not come back yet?
どっかで飲んだくれてるのかな？
Is he still out drinking somewhere?
大石さんいらっしゃいますか？高杉課長からです。
Ushi-sen, are you there? Call from Chief Takasuji.
1号車の無線にお願いします。
He's on the line in car 1. Tomataki, okay. Clawed out his own throat, found in this same exact location, like in the last 2 chapters. This, for sure, is the one common thing that all 3 chapters have in common so far as deaths, is Tomataki-san's death. At least until we can get some information on the autopsy report, if possible. That would really help if we could get that soon. But at this point, I have no reason to doubt it's not different at all. And now we have another common thing with the last 2, with this chapter and chapter 2 as well. A person being found having burned to death in an oil drum, probably outside the prefecture in the same location. Takano was never confirmed to have been found dead at any point, from what I recall. She was just simply declared missing and no trace of her was ever found. And assuming that the person in the oil drum this time around is Takano-san, like it was found out in chapter 2, then maybe if her cause of death was also similar in chapter 1 as well as the next 2 chapters, including this one, then maybe the reason she was simply reported as missing was because nobody saw the fire in an oil drum on the prefecture. And so, yeah, maybe no one saw anything in chapter 1. And it was just by pure coincidence, and it was just by pure luck that in chapters 2 and 3 they see signs of a fire, and then they find person in oil drum. Okay, I'm just gonna go with the idea that that's what happened in chapter 1 as well. That basically she ended up dying by being burned to death in an oil drum, just like in the next 2 chapters. But for some reason, nobody saw anything in chapter 1. That would mean then that I would have 2 deaths that always remain exactly the same between all 3 chapters. None of those would change at all. So now I gotta ask myself, why would their deaths remain exactly the same no matter what, and yet the circumstances behind the other people's deaths in the past 2 chapters, well, no one else has died yet besides dear uncle here. Why are their deaths different between the chapters? Why do they end up dying at all? In chapter 2, it was apparently because, well, Keiichi and Takano, and Shion ended up breaking a serious taboo by breaking into that storehouse, and they were all punished for it in the most extreme manner possible, along with Rika and the mayor for allowing the locks to have been for getting the locks changed to begin with, and Satoko because, well, she was basically a witness to the killer's crime. Jury is still out for me in regards to Uryu. And in chapter 1, Keiichi, Reina, and Mion end up dying when Keiichi flies into a panic and ends up killing them and ends up killing Reina and Mion in a fit of hysteria. And then afterwards, he basically goes around running around until he winds up inside a phone booth, apparently thinking he's seen Urishiro-sama, and then... God damn it, how did he die? I don't remember. Did he claw out his own throat too, or did he die from shock or something? I think he died from shock, if I remember correctly. I really need to sit down and check out some of these scenes again on my off time. But so in chapter 1, Keiichi, Reina, and Mion ended up dying because, well, apparently Keiichi just let his fears run away with him, and it ended up leading into both their deaths and eventually Keiichi himself dying from shock. And yet somebody had taken out some evidence in his room, taken out a note in his room that could point to who he felt were the most suspicious people around. And in chapter 2, I just already explained why everybody died then. Both the causes for the main cast's deaths in chapters 1 and 2 are inherently different. And I think it all ties to the Watanagashi Festival, because in chapter 2, Keiichi, along with Shion, ended up breaking into that storehouse, and it was from that sequence of events that things played out as they did from chapter 2 and from that point onward. And as for chapter 1, Keiichi talked to Takano and Tomotaki about the curse, and, well, that basically seemed to plant the seed of fear in his head. And, well, he went about his days there. He didn't follow Tomotaki or Takano-sen or anything like that from that point onward. So the Watanagashi Festival is the key, I think, to figuring out all the similarities and differences between these chapters. I need to try to figure out as many similarities and differences between all the different festivals that I can. And maybe then, once I do, I can start to get a clear picture of just what exactly is going on here. Okay, I've rambled on more than long enough. I'm sorry, I'm just getting kind of caught up here and trying to piece all this crap together. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit continue. At first, I thought it was a dream. I was staring at this strange sheet, not really understanding what it was. That was all. I didn't go after it, nor did I ridicule it. The fact that the born view was the ceiling of my own room. Fact was, but I didn't realize that for a fairly long time. Yes, I thought I'd been dreaming, but I'd actually been staring at the ceiling the whole time. Lethargy induced by the voices of the cicadas. Even after I realized I was awake, I couldn't draw forth the energy to sit up. Everything I could see, everything I could hear, everything was like a television broadcast that had already ended. It was hot. So hot I could choke on the heat. My back was moist with night sweats. It felt gross. Unable to endure it any longer, I tossed in my futon, and finally blood started coursing through my brain. I lazily recalled the long day I had yesterday. The reality, as I lay here listening to the voices of the cicadas, and yesterday so different from it. In order to kill Satoko's uncle, I had rehearsed, formulated a plan, and dug a hole. It was very hot, and I was tired, wasn't I? And when evening came, I went to school and called him out on the phone. I panicked for a moment when he asked where the police station was, but it worked out. And then I awaited him and swooped down. I couldn't remember anymore what sort of emotions I'd let control my body. In any case, it didn't go smoothly, but I did it. It was very hard to dig the hole for the body. That feel of the rain pelting down on me, I don't think I'll ever forget it. The rain, the mud, and the sprays of blood. The sensation of floundering in a swamp. When I met Takano-sen on the way home, that wasn't good, no matter how I interpreted it. It was the most misfortunate and uncalculated thing that had happened that night. Everything that would have been perfect, if only I hadn't encountered her. I really don't think there's really no way you could have predicted encountering her or anyone like how you did that night. So really, don't be too hard on yourself for that. I was just riding my bike with my shovel in one hand through the downpour, utterly soaked. There was no way someone could surmise I was a murderer, bearing a body just from that information. Now that I was thinking calmly, napping under the morning sun, that's what I thought. Still, the more I think about Takano-san's eyes, it seemed like she understood. Takano-san, she knew that I'd killed someone, buried them, and I had been on my way home, exhausted. Takano-san wouldn't gain anything from selling me out to the police. But if she has any inclination, any reason to think that you might know that she's done something similar to what you did, she might come after you at some point and try to silence you, assuming that she's not in that barrel, in that tip we just read about. In which case, well, unless she could somehow manifest a physical specter of herself through some weird ghostly powers, I don't really think there's anything she's going to be able to do to you now. But that didn't mean I could feel at ease. I should have killed her. I had crossed such a bridge to get my tranquil life back, and I'd finally achieved it as a result. But now, for the rest of my life, for all the tranquil days starting today, I'd have to live in fear of when they could suddenly end. I may have twisted my ankle, dulled from total exhaustion. The fact that I couldn't make the snap judgment I needed to, I regretted it more and more as time went on. You didn't have a choice, Keiichi Maebara. You didn't have any choice at the time. You were tired. You were a mess. Even if you hadn't made a decision, you might not have been able to kill her. She might have just beaten you instead. In that sense, parting ways uneventfully could have been the safer option. No matter how sharp Takano-san's intuition was, she had no proof. Her suspecting me didn't amount to evidence by itself. Logically, I know that. Well, but that doesn't mean I have nothing to worry about, does it? Yep, that's exactly. Just to worry about it when the time comes. Now isn't the time to be worrying. It's time to be smiling, right? You accomplished so much, just to gain a new life starting today, didn't you? And yet, you're going to leave what you rightfully consider a loose end loose. You are just being damn foolish right now. Just thinking that it's perfectly okay for you to just relax for now. Just deal with it later. Yeah, you definitely don't have it in you to be a cold-blooded murderer. Then you should be happy at this new morning. If remembering the past is too hard for you, then just consider everything up to yesterday as having never happened. You said so yourself. You'd bury it all like it never happened. Well, your wish came true. Everything before yesterday never happened. So be happy, Keiichi Maebara.
わーい。
Nice yay. Yay! I stuck my hands up my hands lazily. It felt a little silly for me to be the one doing it. I heaved a sigh from deep in my belly. That sigh got my lungs moving. I felt like I hadn't been breathing until just now. It wasn't enough to admonish myself over. All the dice that could be thrown already had been. And the numbers that turned up weren't bad at all. If I lost with those numbers, then I'd just have to give up, I guess. I grabbed the chest of my pajamas and flapped it back and forth. Cool air flowed over my sweating body. Okay. Nothing before yesterday happened. Nothing. Nothing at all. I'd forget it all. Yesterday was all a dream. What time was it? About midday? Getting myself up and going to school this late seemed kind of absurd. But I needed to go. I felt like going to school would be the first step into my peaceful new life. Until you see Satoko possibly being upset over the uncle not showing up. Like, okay, I know that's kind of a slim chance of happening considering who it is, but I mean, I'm just simply saying that don't count your chickens before they hatch, you know? Just wait and see what things are like at school before you start relaxing, even a little. I didn't care how late I was. I would go. I'd go to school right now and get back to the life I had retaken as soon as I could. My lazy body immediately became lighter at the thought. I rolled up out of the futon, bounced onto my knees, then leapt upright.
10.0
Nice. Stuck the landing. I stuck out my chest with pride at my gymnast-like pose, then took a deep breath of fresh air. The brisk morning air been gone for a while, replaced by the crisp air of summer. Downstairs, I got a stern talking to by my mother. Where were you last night? When did you get back? You need to tell me when you won't be home for dinner. Things like that. But considering the importance of what I had accomplished yesterday, a little scolding was no problem. In fact, it even felt like the sort of thing that would happen in such a peaceful life. I listened with an irresponsible smile, and stepped out into the sun, into the sun high overhead. It was around the time lunch break would be ending. Everyone would probably be worrying about me. I didn't go to the festival, and now I wasn't at school. Well, maybe they weren't too worried about it, since they would have gotten a small piece of news, but a happy one, from Satoko today. Yes, a small piece of news that her uncle hadn't come home last night. Satoko would probably live her days in nervous tension for a while, thinking he might still come home. But eventually those days would end. And finally, Satoko too would realize her uncle was never coming back. And then Rika-chan would quietly invite her. No, she wouldn't. She wouldn't be able to. Have you honestly forgotten about everything that you've all discussed about how if something happens to her guardian, she could be taken in by a child protective agency. She would say, "You can live with me again," and everything would be back to normal. our lives would go back to how they were before that man appeared. Satoko would start wearing an extraordinary smile, complete with those protruding canines, and fool everyone with those traps she was so proud of. I'd probably be her first target out of everyone, but I wouldn't be mad. In fact, I might actually shed tears of joy at the return of something so normal. While your face is possibly bleeding and filled with pain. Satoko, she'd gradually grow back into that meddlesome personality of hers. I mean, my lack of useful life skills was already completely exposed. I wonder if I'd ever be a match for Satoko. But that'd be such a pleasant thing to see, too. And with such warm, fuzzy predictions, I didn't feel bad for going to school so late. In fact, I wanted to run there now to get there as soon as I could. Instead, I decided to savor the peacefulness of just going to school like normal, without running. The world I had tamed for myself, that gave me joy just by walking like this. Yes. The world beginning on this very day was something I had won. Without that monumental feat yesterday, I would never have been able to come to school so cheerfully today. The school gate came into sight. Just then, I heard the principal ringing the bell to mark the end of lunch break. It was a clear, refreshing sound. I stopped despite myself, and let myself take it in. Tap. I had stopped suddenly, so there was an extra footstep. Hello, extra footstep. I thought you just simply went home last night. Yet you're still following me. With a noise, the blessedness I was feeling throughout my whole body withdrew into any pore it could find. And as if to replace it, I felt like hundreds of hairy caterpillars were climbing up my feet. I turned back, but of course, nobody was there. This is reminding me a little bit about some of incidents you had back in Chapter 1 where you felt like someone was following you, and yet no one was there. A single footstep could have easily been my imagination. But the footstep felt so ominous. That extra footstep I had heard after seeing Takano sent off last night. With everything that happened on that insane night, I didn't mind something like that happening once. It had been a hell of a night after all. In fact, having just one hallucination was pretty fortunate. But those footsteps should have ended with yesterday, so if I heard them again today, there was really only one thing it could have meant. Last night still wasn't over. Or maybe your mental faculties are deteriorating a bit for some other reason. Like maybe lack of proper sleep. That could be a starting point. It was still going. Still. That insane night. Forever. The step I heard. Just that one extra footstep. Was quietly ridiculing the nonsensical notion that the world starting today was completely different from the one that ended yesterday. My classmates playing in the schoolyard all vanished inside, like the tide going out. When I approached the school, it felt like that warm, fuzzy scene had ended, and it didn't feel good. At the entrance, I took a quick look in everyone's shoe boxes. Satoko Hoju. She was here. Mion was here too. And Reina, of course. Even Rika-chan was here. Tomota-kun and Okamura-kun were here. In fact, I didn't see any missing classmates. If there were shoes missing, they would have to be my own. I took off my shoes and stuck them in, then took out some slippers. There wasn't a single pair left in the shoe boxes anymore. With that, they returned to their rightful state. But as I stepped up onto the wooden floor, I noticed there was just one pair of slippers left. Huh. Whose?
Hojo Satoshi.
Satoshi Hojo. Satoshi, who had never been to school since disappearing last year. Until now, they had committed the exact same act of violence. But I guess in the very end, it went differently. You couldn't make it to school, but here I am. I didn't repeat the same mistake you made. I wasn't about to let myself feel superior about that. In fact, I felt an odd sense of familiarity with him. A misfortunate bond, with someone I never met due to following the same fate. I headed down the hallway, towards the usual classroom. It felt like it had been a whole year since coming here. Hey, did you forget Keiichi Maebara? Satoshi Hoju didn't really disappear on the night of Watanagashi, did he? He disappeared a few days after that, yeah. Satoshi Hoju disappeared a few days later. On Satoko's birthday, if I was right. Something's probably gonna end up happening to you on her birthday, isn't it? I'm almost willing to bet money on it. I didn't know what day it was. But I couldn't say for sure I'd avoided Satoshi's failure, unless I remained here past that day. I was still living in that night of insanity. The teachers still hadn't come to the classroom. The other door clattered open, the one the teacher wouldn't use, so everyone turned at once to see who had arrived. Everyone looked pretty vacant. Suppose I'll greet them.
Ohayo, Shokun.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
出迎えご苦労であるぞよ。
I do thank you for coming all the way out here today. Silence. I don't like this silence. It's implying to me that they think... Well, I don't know, honestly. Could somebody explain to me what's going on? Because clearly this isn't a good occasion I've just stumbled into. When I started to think I'd fallen flat, someone finally started laughing for me.
Ohayo, Kei-chan.
Good morning, Kei-chan.
今朝も飛ばしてるね。
You're pretty energetic today.
飛ばしてるね。
Yeah, energetic.
ケイチ君、まだお祭り気分が抜けてないのかもしれない。
Maybe you haven't gotten out of the festive mood yet. How? Well, I suppose in a manner of speaking, you're right. Keiichi here is still kind of feeling trapped in the night of the Watanagashi Festival. Hearing me on Rina's cheerful voices made me realize how dumb those dark feelings I've been having at the entrance really were.
おいおい、お祭り気分って、そもそも俺。
Hey now, festive mood? I wasn't at the festival at all, remember? Before I could say that, Rika-chan smiled at me.
ケイイチはちゃんと僕の演舞見ててくれましたですか？
Keiichi, did you make sure to watch my dance? No. Sadly, no. I'm sure it was grand. Yep.
ちゃんと見てたよ。
He saw it just fine.
あんなにいっぱい拍手してくれてたのに、リカちゃん気づかなかったのかな？
Didn't you see how big an applause he gave you?
ケイちゃんにシオンのやつがちょっかい出してきたのを無視してね。
And he ignored it when that troublemaker Shion came up and made a pass at him.
シオン、ざまあなかった。
Take that, Shion.
いい気分。
Wow, that felt good. I suppose I should be thankful that making little remarks like these towards Shion is the only thing you're doing to her right now. Mion starts laughing at the memory as she slaps me a few times on the back.
それで、あの射的屋の対決って結局どうなったんですか？
So, how did that target practice contest turn out in the end? Tomota-kun was facing me and talking. There was nobody behind me. That meant he was talking to me?
あれは結局、富武がビリだったのですよ。
Toмотaki turned up dead last night. Okay, so we're... Yeah, that would explain the mood you're all in, wouldn't it?
みんなで楽しく罰ゲームをしましたです。
Everyone had a good time with his punishment game. Wait, where did I get last night? Toмотaki turned up dead last. Everyone had a good time with his punishment game. Well, now he's just dead.
リカちゃんも実質ビリみたいなもんだったじゃない。
Weren't you supposed to be the one in last place, Rika-chan? Wait a minute! No, wait. No. I thought I had something. But I'm now remembering that he and Takano, back in Chapter 2, went to break into the storehouse while the big ceremony was going on. Not before. Because he certainly made time, back in Chapter 1, to mess around at all the stalls with you guys.
あそこで起死回生の大技でガムをゲットとは、さすがは我が部の部員。
It was such a turnaround when you pulled off getting that chewing gum. I should have expected that from a member of my club.
見事だったよ。
It was fantastic. Crying at a time like that is a feat only Furuta would be allowed to do, said Okamura-kun, breathing heavily from his nose. In my direction. Everyone laughed. If anyone but Rika-chan had done it, it would have been against the rules. Rika-chan gave one of her nipa smiles as she listened to it. In my direction. Reina too turned to me. No, turned towards me. And then, with a somewhat embarrassed smile, she whispered to me so only I could hear.
でも、本当にありがとね。
But really, thanks.
ケイチ君。
Keiichi-kun.
もう
For what?
何がだよ。
あのでっかいぬいぐるみ、
That giant stuffed animal.
すっごく嬉しかった。
I was really happy.
大事に枕元に置いてるんだよ。
It's nice and safe right at my bedside. Wait a minute. This is all an act that you're putting on for Rika's sake, right? To make her believe that... Wait a minute. She would have been right with you, though, during all that stall stuff. So she would have known for sure that you weren't present. So... Also... be right back. Right, now, as I was saying... Didn't Keiichi win you a big stuffed animal in Chapter 1's events during the festival? This sounds awfully familiar.
ちゃんと寝る前にお休みのキスしちゃった。
And I made sure to give it a good night kiss before bed, too. The class laughed at that, cheering and jeering. This whole time, the conversation had been a little off. I wasn't quite getting it. Well, I'm getting something here, all right. A sense of déjà vu.
ぬいぐるみがどうしたって？
What's this? About a stuffed animal?
どうしたって、
What's
ほら、
this?
昨日のお祭りでみんなで頑張って落としたよ。
Come on, we all worked really hard at the festival yesterday to get it down, remember?
でっかいぬいぐるみ。
Yeah, now I remember. There was a stuffed animal that they played a stall game to get by trying to knock it down with some BB guns, I think? The gigantic stuffed
でっ
animal.
かいぬいぐるみ。
The gigantic stuffed animal. Rena seemed taken aback, but when she answered, she did it with a smile.
なかなか倒せないから額を狙ったり素早く何発も撃ったりしていろいろと試したんだよね。
We were having a hard time knocking it over, so we tried aiming at the forehead and rapid-fire shooting and stuff. I remember that too.
それでケイチくん鉄砲を何丁もあらかじめ用意して
And then-
素早く撃ってみせてくれたんだよね。
And then, Keiichi-kun, you got a whole bunch of guns ready beforehand and shot them all.
かっこよかった。
So cool. What the hell? This is exactly how it played in Chapter 1. What's going on here? Wait. Who is this?
あの後の飲み会でさ、町内会の会長連中にもケイちゃんの評判すごく良かったんだよ。
All the people in the neighborhood association, including the chairman, were praising you so much at the party afterwards.
ケイちゃんの売り工場に惚れたって騒いでたのは子供会の君吉徳蔵会長だったかな。
One of them said he'd fallen in love with your way with words. Tokozu's Kimiyoshi, the chairman of the children's committee, I think?
次の祭りではぜひケイちゃんに何店舗か任せたいって言ってた。
He said he wanted to trust you with a few of the stalls at the next festival. Wait a minute. Are you referencing Chapter 2's events at the stalls when you all basically ended up running advertisements for some of the food stalls after you all tried that fried octopus stall or whatever it was, whatever the hell it was called? Is this what this is referencing here? If it is, now I'm even more confused.
徳蔵はお祭りの実行委員会の模擬店部長さんなのです。
Tokozo is the chairman of the refreshment booths. He's on the festival executive committee. My bartender is great at making things sound good, isn't he? Yep, whenever he talks about something, it seems a lot better than it actually is. You can't say that.
ケイチくんって売り子さんの才能があるんだね。
Keiichi-kun, you'd be a great salesman.
きっとバナナの叩き売りとかやったら上手だと思うよ。
If you did a bargain sale on bananas or something, I bet it would be great. So, okay, let's just pause for a second here. These are events that I remember happening during the night of the festival for the first 2 chapters. Both the stuffed animal stuff and the food stall things, for chapters 1 and 2 respectively. Exactly as I remember them. How... And you're all acting like as though they actually happened, so... Is this just like that feeling that Keiichi had earlier in this chapter when he met Ushi at the school for the first time, technically? And he had a really, really strong negative feeling about him that he would basically bring disaster to him and even his friends the longer he's around. How I theorized that maybe Keiichi might actually recognize him somehow, probably because, well, going how each new chapter seems to be kind of like a restart of the same basic events that we first saw in Chapter 1, but then things play out differently from there in a few places, for the most part. Is this actual more evidence of my time loop theory thing? Are you all remembering stuff from the other 2 chapters? So strongly, in fact, that you seem like you're actually convinced that all that stuff actually happened? Not just with one chapter, but both of them? How are you all remembering this?
さっきから何の話だよ。
There has to be a time loop or something. In that case. So, what the hell is causing the damn time loops? And better yet, what's causing you all to remember these events now? Just ripples in the timelines or something? What have you been talking about?
だいたい俺
I mean, I didn't go to the festival in the first place. I swallowed those words. I didn't know exactly why, but in Hinamizawa, this is what had happened. Yesterday, during the Watanagashi Festival, Keiichi Maebara had appeared. And he had romped about with all the usual members of his club. He made a big scene at a few of the stalls, snatched a few sticks of takoyaki, that's what it was called, and okonomiyaki in his glee, rating each of them as delicious or terrible to get everyone excited. And he'd seen a gigantic stuffed animal at the target practice game, and everyone went after it. This is like a complete merging of the two different nights of the first 2 chapters. And then I got a whole bunch of the cork guns, firing them in rapid succession, throwing each one away after using it. And admirably, I shot down the biggest stuffed animal there. And then I gave the stuffed animal, the proof of my victory, to Reina as a gift. Then our fun came to a close, as we had to go see Rika-chan's offertory dance. There was a ton of people squeezed in there, and we all got separated. But we managed to get into good positions to cheer Rika-chan from. Then, in the middle, when Shion came up and asked me to go hang out with her instead of watching the dedication dance, I refused. That's a difference! You refused! This is different! And stayed put, watching the dance until the very end. Why is the last bit different? Why did you stay? But who? Who was that? Well, everyone's been saying it, haven't they? Keiichi Maebara. I had an urge to yell in anger at my classmates for having so much fun talking about the festival yesterday with Keiichi Maebara. What the hell are you guys even talking about? Yet you don't seem to remember these events at all. Far stronger than that feeling, though, was the sheer uncanny nature of this reality I couldn't understand. A Keiichi Maebara who wasn't me was in Hinamizawa yesterday. As I threw away my humanity, turned into a demon, and was busy beating Satoko's uncle to death. I was having a great time at the festival last night. And it probably wasn't even raining there, was it? What the hell? I had to suffer through so much, desperately holding back tears, getting so worn out in that downpour, digging holes, chasing, beating, killing, dragging, and burying. Who was this Keiichi Maebara who had ignored me so, and spent such a fun, carefree time at the festival, damn it! Who the hell stood in for me as I put my life on the line, working so hard to achieve this treasure-like everyday life? If there was another Keiichi Maebara besides me, then what was I? An imposter! On the night of Watanagashi, where one died and one disappeared, in accordance with Shiro-sama's curse, there was only a demon who had killed someone. Dumbfounded, as I succumbed to a horrifying possibility, I looked around at my classmates to make sure there was nobody extra I didn't recognize among them. To make sure I wasn't among them. It was a horrifying thought that the real Keiichi Maebara hadn't overslept and had come to school on time. And that I, who was no longer Keiichi Maebara, just waltzed in here. That would explain then why... In the back of my mind, I was wondering why no one asked why you were late to school. But no matter how much I checked, the only people here were ones I knew. The man I met every time I looked in a bathroom mirror was not here.
Hi.
Okay, everyone.
午後の授業を始めますよ。
Time to start afternoon classes.
皆さん、席に戻ってください。
Please take your seats.
委員長、号令。
President, please lead the class. The teacher entered, and everyone hurried back to their seats. Upon finding me, who was so stupidly late, she gave me a stern talking to. Okay, then... But I wasn't listening to it. Okay, so maybe Mion just didn't feel like calling you out and being late. Maybe that was it. But that still doesn't explain literally everything else just now. Wasn't our old life supposed to start today? Something wasn't right. It was just strange. I was supposed to go back to my old, fun life after yesterday. I'd set foot in an incomparably mysterious world that was completely different from both my old life and my recent one. Yes. This is, without a doubt, a different world than the one I've been living in until now. There's no way such an absurd thing could be possible. But, unless it was true, I couldn't explain anything that just happened. In this classroom, I was surrounded by so many faces I knew, and yet I'd felt isolated. The cicadas sounded no different than they had before now, but they seemed somehow false. The air was parched and dry, too, making me think, was the air in Hinamizawa always this uncomfortable?
Oi, Rena.
Hey, Reina.
何かな？
What is it?
授業中なんだよ。
We're in class.
昨日の祭りだけどさ。
At the festival yesterday.
俺、いつ頃みんなと合流したっけ？
About... When would you say I got there? Huh? To be honest, I was pretty excited afterwards. And I gobbled down some cans of beer. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, but I don't quite remember some things. For random babbling, it wasn't a bad excuse.
ケイチ君、最初は来れないって言ってたんだよね。
Keiichi-kun, you said you couldn't come at first, didn't you? Yes!
みーちゃんの家にそう電話したんでしょ？
You called Mi-chan's house about it, right? Okay, so maybe I didn't just suddenly walk into a parallel universe. Maybe you So I think we could probably write that possibility off the list and just stick to what I've already been theorizing here. That somehow you're all remembering stuff that didn't happen in this chapter. That matched. I called Mion and told her to take Satoko in my place, since I wouldn't be able to meet up with them due to things I had to do.
さとこちゃんを誘ってあげようっていうのは、みんなでお祭りの準備をしてた時に決めたんだよ。
We all decided while we were setting up for the festival that we'd invite Satoko-chan.
少しでもおじさんの姿の見えないところに連れ出してあげようと思って。
We wanted to bring her out someplace where she couldn't see her uncle for a little while. I was the same too. Mion said that when I called her. That everyone had already decided to invite her.
それでみんなでレナとミーちゃんとリカちゃんでさとこちゃんの家に行ってさとこちゃんを連れ出して。
And then we all went, me, Mi-chan, Rika-chan, to Satoko-chan's house and brought her out.
さとこちゃんのおじさん、すっごく意地悪そうな人だった。
Satoko-chan's uncle seems like a really mean person. That part didn't matter. What I was trying to ask was...
俺は、いつ合流したんだ?
Well, when did I meet up with you?
そんなことも忘れちゃってるの?
How could you forget that?
ケイチ君、だから祭りの前の日はよく寝た方がいいよって言ったのに。
Keiichi-kun, this is why I said to get a good night's sleep before the festival.
だから、
Whatever!
俺はいつ合流したんだよ?
When did I meet up with you? Well... At my sudden threatening demand, Reina was at a loss for words. Oops. I shouldn't have rushed that. I told her I was sorry.
境内でだよ。
It was at the shrine grounds.
ひょっこりと。
It was unexpected.
リカちゃんと話してたじゃない。
You were talking to Rika-chan, weren't you? To Rika?
うん。
Yep.
巫女さん姿のリカちゃんと楽しそうに話してた。
You were having a fun talk with Rika-chan in her shrine maiden outfit.
それでレナも加わって、はう、お持ち帰りって。
And then Reina came up and said, "How? I'm taking you home."
リカちゃんと話してたのか?
I was talking to Rika-chan.
ケイちゃん、用事か何かがあったんじゃないって私が聞いたらさ。
And I asked Kei-chan, "Didn't you have something to do today?"
ケイちゃん、胸を叩きながら自分で言ったじゃないのよ。
Then you pounded your chest and said it yourself.
用事なんかより祭りで大暴れする方が大切だぜって。
That letting loose at a festival was more important than some silly errand. I didn't say that. I never said anything like that. I never even went to the shrine grounds yesterday to begin with. I never had the time to stop by a place like that. I went to dig the hole as soon as I woke up. I had a pretty hard time doing it. After that, I snuck into the school and made a call. I called them out and lay in wait. And then it started raining really hard. With that kind of downpour, the festival should have come to a halt. In other words, it ended then. From the time the festival started to when it ended, it would have been impossible for me to have swung by the shrine grounds. I was already there when Mion and the others dragged Satoko out and brought her to the shrine, and I was talking to Rika-chan. Then, where would Rika-chan say we met? I think we should go talk to Rika. The teacher went out to wash her hands, so I ran over to Rika-chan's desk and asked her directly.
ケイチとですか?
With you?
ああ。
Yeah.
リカちゃんはミオンたちが来る前から俺と話してたんだろ?
We were talking to each other before Mion and the others got there, right?
いつ俺に会ったんだ?
When did we see each other?
いつどこでだよ?
When? And where?
ケイチが何を聞きたいのかわからないのです。
I don't know what you're trying to ask.
俺昨日寝不足で半分頭がぼーっとなっててさ、
You know, yesterday I didn't really get enough sleep, and my head's a bit fuzzy.
何も覚えてないんだよ。
I don't remember a thing. It looked like Rika-chan bought into my babbling.
圭一と会ったのは集会所から村長さんたちと出てきた時なのです。
We saw each other when the mayor and the others came out of the assembly hall.
圭一は西宮殿の扉の前にいましたのですよ。
You were in front of the ritual implement storehouse. The implement storehouse?
え
Huh?
何
What?
西宮殿
The ritual implement storehouse? I never heard a building called that before. Or maybe I have, but at the very least, I wouldn't know where on the shrine grounds it was. Now all of a sudden I'm remembering something about Chapter 2 during that night of the festival when they broke into the storehouse. I think Shion and Tomotaki mentioned having heard a noise while they were all there, and yet Takano and Keiichi didn't seem to hear anything at all. How did they describe it? Like somebody jumping up and down somewhere? I don't know. I don't know how this could be relevant. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to search for any kind of clues I can think of that might explain what's going on here. Or at least help get me some kind of trail of breadcrumbs to follow.
Sonchouさんがそこは神聖な場所だからみだりに近寄ってはならにゅうと怒りましたですよ。
The mayor got real angry at you, since you shouldn't go near holy places without authority, remember?
圭一、それも忘れてしまいましたですか？
Keiichi, did you forget that too? I was too scared to ask anymore. The more I asked, the more it became clear without any doubt that Keiichi Meibar was present at the Fruit Shrine grounds during the Watanagashi Festival. So if I understand the sequence of events right, this Keiichi showed up in front of the Ritual Implement Storehouse, was discovered by Rika, the mayor, and the others after they all had their meeting in the assembly hall. And then afterwards, Keiichi joined everybody for the festival. And they ended up going through a sequence of events that seems like a merger of the nights between the first two chapters of the Watanagashi Festival, from when the festival itself properly started, with what they did at the stalls, and even a little bit of during the festival itself. But rather than going off on his own with Shion, this Keiichi refused and stood and basically stayed with everybody during the whole festival. I think I got that right? The clearer that became, the more doubts, no fears I had. Who on earth was I yesterday? Whoever that was, he had a good time in my place, and managed to go the entire day without letting them notice I wasn't there. Alright. When did that person leave everyone? This morning, my mother got mad at me for having stayed out so late last night. Which meant, at the very least, that Keiichi Meibar hadn't come home while my mother was still awake. The festival would have been closed because of the downpour. If I recall right, when I went back to the house's storage room to get another shovel, I think the clock said 7. Since it was already raining hard by then, the festival would have had to close down before 7. If I'd returned that early, I would have definitely run into my parents. Or at the very least, they wouldn't have asked me when I got back last night. So the Keiichi Meibar from yesterday, that meant he never went home. That meant the downpour happened The festival was broken up. Everyone left. But he didn't go back to the house. That means when I arrived at the natural conclusion, a wicked chill suddenly froze my spine and climbed up to my brain. That meant Keiichi Maebara was the same as Satoshi. One day, he never went home. On the night of Watanagashi, he never went home. No. We just already gone over how he disappeared a few days after the festival. You're still here. The downpour interrupted the festival, and on the way home, he suddenly disappeared. And I, who was dealing with the corpse, went home without a problem. I was so tired I wasn't even hungry, so I went up to my room without a sound and crawled into my futon. Who was I? That much was obvious. Keiichi Maebara. Keiichi Maebara was me. There may have been another one, but that doesn't negate the fact that I was Keiichi Maebara. Then, that other Keiichi Maebara was... what? Maybe echo of sorts from alternate timelines? Having made manifest? I don't know, something like to that effect? The voices of the cicadas, steadily filling the classroom, were beginning to bother me. Suddenly, I laid my eyes on Satoko. Satoko's expression was dark as always. She seemed completely exhausted, and a life of agony she couldn't even imagine an ending to. What had last night been like for Satoko? Did she have fun with everyone and feel a little happier, even for a moment? And when she went home, the end of her dream, she'd probably gone to sleep afraid of when her uncle would return. And then, this morning, her uncle hadn't come home. And then, she went to school. Right now, she must still have been trapped by the rotten idea from which she couldn't be saved. That her uncle would need her when she got back. But you can rest easy, Satoko. Your uncle won't ever be coming back. I couldn't tell her it was because I'd killed him. When Satoko realized on her own that her uncle would never return, then that would truly be the end of the long, insane night. That's right. I didn't do anything wrong. I did the best possible thing I could have as Satoko's Nini. I still disagree with you on that. Not an atom in my body regretted it. And look. Calm down and think, Keiichi Maebara. From a clear point of view, isn't it a convenience there was another Keiichi Maebara? I buried the corpse perfectly. A beginning wouldn't happen. But if worst came to worst, and it got out, and the investigation got to me, I now have a strong alibi, able to profess the fact I had been at the Watanagashi Festival. But accepting something so creepy, and using it as an alibi. Still, if I proved I hadn't gone to the festival yesterday, it would do no good and a whole lot of harm. That was what left a really, actually bad aftertaste. You'll forget about it, Keiichi Maebara. everything that happened before today. So just forget about the Keiichi Maebara who was there yesterday too. I don't want to forget. I think this is something I should be very concerned about. And you should too, you fool. Instead, let's watch gently over Satoko for the day her smile returns. And the day that would mark the end of that insane, all too long night. That's all for today, class.
皆さん、寄り道をしないで、ちゃんとお家へ帰るんですよ。
Please go straight back to your homes, everyone. Why are we going back to our homes exactly?
委員長、号令。
President, if you would.
起立。気をつけ。
Everybody stand up. At attention. Bow. Goodbye. I thought about many things, and saw my thoughts dispersed by many other things. I didn't know whether or not that time had been spent worrying or daydreaming, but either way, it came to an end along with class. Cheerfully, our classmates got their things and ran for the hallway. Mion, Reina, and Rika-chan were packing up as well. What about Satoko? This whole day, she seemed deflated. While her uncle may not have returned last night, but she wouldn't have known he'd never return. How much I wanted to express that fact to her. Why not try talking to her? Satoko packed up her pencil box and math workbook messily, and after a dark glance at the clock, heaved a heavy sigh, then went to leave the classroom. Then, suddenly, somebody placed a hand on her shoulder and stopped her.
何ですの？
What is it?
私、ちゃんと水やり当番もやりましたし、プリントだってちゃんと。
I watered the plants like I was supposed to, and got all the printouts done. Her words, possessed by a persecution complex, hurt. I spoke loudly so everyone could hear.
なあみんな。
Hey everyone!
さ、今日は久しぶりにやらないか？
Why don't we have club today?
部活。
It's been a while. Satoko always had to tend to her uncle, so club has been on hiatus. In our minds, our club was proof of a calm, peaceful life. By enjoying being together, I wanted to make Satoko realize her days of darkness were over.
レナは、
I'm okay.
いいよ。
I'll do it.
そりゃ、まあ。
Well, I mean...
私は構わないけど。
I don't mind.
サトコがいいならね。
If it's okay with Satoko. Under a condition. That was important. With everything up to her, Satoko gave a worried look.
なあ、サトコ。久々にどうだよ。
Come on, Satoko, it's been a long time.
パーッとさ。
Let's go crazy!
その、お気持ちは嬉しいでございますけど。
Well, I'm happy you feel that way, but... My uncle might already be home. Thus spoke her darkened eyes, her mouth unmoving.
サトコもさ、連日息が詰まるような生活をずっと続けててさ、もう窒息寸前だろ？
You've been choking on life every day for a while. You must be about to suffocate.
そんなのは心にも体にも悪いだけだぜ。
It's not good for your mind or body.
やっぱりたまにはパーッと弾けなきゃな。
Once in a while, you've got to have some fun.
放っておいてくださいまし。
Please, leave it alone.
私だって、そりゃ部活がまたやれたらと思っていますわよ。
It's not like I don't want to do club again. With one word, but... She looked down.
みんなで遊んだ方が楽しいのはサトコだってよく知ってるだろ。
Satoko, you know as well as anyone it's more fun being with everyone, right?
俺たちは仲間だぜ。
We're friends.
みんなで一緒に過ごすようにできてるんだよ。
That means we can spend time with each other.
サトコだって昨
With
日
each other.
みんなでお祭りで騒いで楽しかったろ？
I mean, you had a great time at the festival yesterday with everyone, didn't you? Reina nearly said something, but she was too late.
ケイチさん、何を言ってますの？
Keiichi-san, what are you saying? My arm on her shoulder seemed to weigh her down, and she threw it off.
私がお祭りで楽しく、いつ遊んだって言うんですの？
When exactly was I playing and having fun at the festival? What?
楽しく遊んだのは、ケイチさんだけじゃありませんの。
The only one having fun was you, Keiichi-san. That doesn't jive at all with what everyone was telling me about their very strange and similar sounding recollections of the festival. Huh? I looked over to Mion for help, but now everyone was looking down. My instincts told me that Satoko hadn't gone to the festival. But Reina said it herself, that she went with Mion to Satoko's house to invite her.
サトコちゃん、途中で帰っちゃったの。
Satoko-chan left on the way there. That would explain it then.
神社には行かなかった。
She didn't go to the shrine.
どうして？
Why? I realized the absurdity of what I just said with Satoko in front of me.
おじが家で待ってるのに、一人だけ遊んでると悪いって言って。
She said her uncle was waiting at home, and she couldn't have fun by herself.
神社の直前で。
When we were in front of the shrine. What? Wait. Then that would mean that she was at home when Keiichi called the uncle out, right? So then, why would he have acted like as though Satoko wasn't home and that she was at the police station, as Keiichi made the guy believe, and just... Unless Satoko was hiding somewhere at home, just staying out of sight, then I think it might be possible then that she saw her uncle leave. Oh dear. Oh boy, this could be bad.
私たちも引き止めたんだよ。
We tried to stop her too.
今日はおじさん公認だから、ちゃんと遊んでも怒られないんだよって。
We told her her uncle said it was okay, and that he wouldn't get mad if she had a good time. At some point, tears had begun welling up in Satoko's eyes. Satoko was so afraid of her uncle that she couldn't even allow herself time with her friends, and went home. Well, this is fucking depressing. No. She was even afraid of letting herself have a good time with her friends.
ケイチさんはいいですわね。
Keiichi-san, you must have it nice.
みんなで楽しくお祭り一夜を過ごせて。
Having a blast at the festival all night.
聞けば、大層盛り上がって大活躍だったそうじゃないですの。
They told me you went all out, didn't you?
お羨ましいことですわ。
I'm very envious. Please don't. This is like a knife to my heart, man. Smiling to herself, her tears began to fall.
私には、養わなければならない叔父がいますの。
I must provide for my uncle.
ケイチさんみたいに、ご両親にのんびり養ってもらってる人とは、わけが違いますですのよ。
It's completely different from you. With how you let your parents do everything.
サトコ。
Satoko.
楽しくお祭りが過ごせてよかったですわね。
I'm so glad you enjoyed yourself at the festival.
私の分まで楽しく過ごせて本当におよろしかったですこと。
I'm so glad you had enough fun for me too.
私だって部活がしたいですわ。
I mean, I want to participate in the club too.
みんなで楽しく大騒ぎして、楽しくて。
Making such a racket with everyone is so much fun.
でも今の私、そんなの
But right
そんな
now,
の
I can't. Unable to withstand such violent emotion, a few teardrops slid down her cheek. But even though she was having such a terrible time, not once did she ever say that it was hard for her. It was a sad, obstinate bravery. But the days when Satoko had to feel that way were over. Satoko didn't need to endure it, to bear it anymore. She could forget all about it now and smile. I was so frustrated not being able to tell her that directly. Instead, I said something that I'm not sure I should have said before I thought twice about it.
帰ってこないんだろ
He
あい
didn't
つは。
come home, did he? The words were deeply meaningful to me, but I didn't know if Satoko understood them.
帰ってこないって誰がですの？
Didn't come home. Who?
昨べは帰らなかったんだろ
He didn't come home last night, did he?
お前のお家は。
Your uncle?
何を言ってますの、圭一さんは。
What are you talking about, Keiichi-san? Satoko shouted, with all her might.
あいつがいついなくなったって言うんですの？
When has he not been there? What the fuck?
いつ？
When?
いつ？
When?
落ち着けよ。
Is that bastard somehow still alive? Did I actually walk into an alternate universe? Calm down.
だって昨日あいつは
I mean,
帰ってこなかったろ。
he didn't come home yesterday. Did he?
圭一さんが何を言ってるのか全然わかりませんでしたよ。
I don't understand. What you're trying to say, Keiichi-san?
佐藤こそ何を言ってんだよ。
Satoko, what are you talking about?
だってあの男は。
I mean, that man, I killed him. Killed him yesterday. Killed him for sure. And I buried him. Buried him whole. He could never have returned to his house.
昨日だって私にいっぱい意地悪して。
Even yesterday, he was torturing me so much.
怒鳴って。
He yelled at me.
わめいて。
He shouted at me.
当たり散らして。
He found fault with everything I did.
作ったご飯を投げられた。
He threw the dinner I made him on the floor.
お味噌汁もひっくり返された。
He dumped his bowl of miso soup on me too.
暑かった。
It was hot.
汚かった。
It was messy.
そしてお掃除も私がした。
And I cleaned all of it up.
私が。
I cleaned
私が。
all of it. What the fuck is going on here? What? Our stories weren't matching up.
あいつ
Hey,
いる
Night?
今朝だって朝ごはんの時起こせって言われたから起こしたのに怒られた。
And this morning, when he woke me up to make him breakfast, he got so mad at me.
起こさなかったらまた怒るように起こしても怒られた。
He would have gotten mad at me whether I'd gotten up or not.
佐藤子
Satoko. Rika-chan went over to Satoko and said a few words of consolation. But Satoko angrily refused those words and thrust Rika-chan away.
いいに。いいに。早く
Nene! Come back! Come back! Crying, Satoko slowly walked down into the hallway. After a moment, Rika-chan went after her. I couldn't stop thinking about the words Satoko had spoken while crying. I buried her uncle last night, but she said this morning that was impossible. I buried him last night, so she couldn't have seen her uncle this morning. What was Satoko? Go to their house and find out for sure. At that point, I heard Mion's cold voice.
ねえケイちゃん、
Hey, Kei-chan.
サトコのおじさんが帰ってこないって
What did you mean
何？
about Satoko's uncle? I said too much. I let my emotions get the better of me.
レナも聞いたよ。
Reina heard it too.
さとこちゃんのおじさんが帰ってこないって言った。
You said Satoko-chan's uncle didn't come home.
どうして？
Why?
なんで帰ってこないの？
Why didn't he come home?
おかしいよね。
That's strange.
だって今朝もちゃんとさとこちゃんのおじさんはいるんだよ。
Satoko-chan's uncle was right there this morning, wasn't he?
なのになんで帰ってこないなんて言うのかな。
Why?
Oh, no.
So why would you say he didn't come back? Come back? Nothing makes sense anymore. I am lost here.
ケイちゃん、言ってることがさっきから変。
Kei-chan, you've been saying weird things for a while. Suddenly, Mion and Reina started speaking strange and creepy voices. What were they doing? What were they saying?
ケイちゃんはサトコのおじさんがいると何か都合が悪いことでもあるわけ？
Kei-chan, is it somehow inconvenient for you for Satoko's uncle to be around? I would kind of argue that it's kind of inconvenient for everybody that he's around, especially Satoko.
お前らこそ
No,
何を言ってるんだ？
no. What are you talking about?
サトコのおじなんかいない方がいいに
Of course
決
it
ま
would
ってるだろうが。
be. Of course it would be better if Satoko's uncle wasn't here.
うん、
Yep,
それはもちろんいない方がいいよね。
that's true, of course. If only he weren't here, right? What the hell is going on? You're all acting very strange. Something wasn't right. The next thing I knew, Mion and Reina were smiling thinly, and their eyes were dark and muddy in a way that I'd never seen before. As our eyes met, that mud even seemed to fill the air.
サトコのおじは確かに嫌なやつだよね。
Satoko's uncle is an awful person, no doubt.
私もいなくなった方がいいやつだと思うよ。
I think we'd all be better off with him gone just as much as you do.
でもさ、
But he's here.
いる仕方ないじゃない。
There's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do, right? Nothing we can do. Something's wrong. Something's clearly wrong here. What the hell was happening? After a moment, a chilly, liquid-like feeling, as though my body had been mixed with sherbet, crawled up my spine. I just had a thought, and I find it very, very fucking unlikely, and I have no evidence to support it whatsoever at this point, but did Keiichi somehow hallucinate the entirety of yesterday? All the way up to when he went to bed that night? Did he somehow hallucinate or dream up of himself killing Satoko's uncle, and he just simply forgot about some events that occurred at the festival? I guess that would explain the inconsistencies with his memory and everybody else's stories and all that, but just what could, but the biggest problem I have with this thing I just thought of is, what would have caused him to dream about an entire freaking day like that? Last I checked, he wasn't doing drugs. He didn't experience any kind of trauma or anything recently that I recall. So that can't be it. This has got to be something else.
仕方ないって。そりゃ
No choice.
仕方ないけど。
I mean, of course there isn't, but...
でも、それじゃ佐藤が。
And Satoko will never...
仕方がなければどうするのかな。
If there's no choice, what would you do? Yeah. Reina was trying to prompt me to say more. There really was no choice, so I killed him. I killed him to protect Satoko.
それは。
That's...
放っておきなよ。
Leave him alone.
そのうち解決しちゃうと思うしさ。
I think things will resolve themselves soon enough.
さとこちゃんがおじさんがいるって言ってるんだからいる。
Satoko-chan said her uncle was here, so he's here.
ちゃんと昨日もいたし、
He
今
was,
朝もいる。
he was here yesterday, and he's here today.
そうならそうでいいんじゃないかな。かな。
She said so it's fine, right? Right? Absolutely not! It's making me question my sense of reality here. Mion and Reina were speaking unbelievably dismissively. How could they be talking like that? Mion and Reina, they were my friends, and they were seriously worried about Satoko's abuse, weren't they? They would never blurt out something like this. Which is only adding to my confusion here, because I agree with you. And I definitely killed Satoko's uncle. No matter what Satoko or anyone else says, I wouldn't acknowledge it, because him being alive was impossible. There's no way he was alive. It was impossible. And yet, since Satoko herself said he was here, then he was alive. I didn't know why or how, but suddenly Mion and Reina were at my sides, standing there silently.
帰ろうよ、ケイちゃん。
Let's go home, Kei-chan.
帰ったらね、今日は久しぶりにレナ、宝探しに行くつもりなんだ。
After we leave, Reina wants to go treasure hunting for the first time in a while.
みーちゃんも来るんだよ。
Mi-chan is coming too.
ケイちゃんも一緒に行こ
Kei-chan, you should come along.
う。もちろん拒否権はないからね。
Of course, you're not allowed to refuse. And why the fuck not, huh? Under whose authority? If words could freeze blood, then there was no doubt that they would have frozen me solid. I could hear it. A thin layer of ice, a layer of thin ice. The sound of all my muscles tensing. And of them closely at my sides. We left the school, as if they were police officers taking me away. They talked about silly things the entire way home, like they always did. But they always stood at my sides, as if to prevent me from escaping. This was strange. Everything about this day was strange. Actually, it had been strange ever since the previous night. Yes, thinking back, it had been strange ever since killing Satoko's uncle. That creepy meeting with Takano-san. was only the beginning. That insane night was still continuing. Yes, it hadn't ended.
何？
What?
どうしたのケイちゃん。急に立ち止まったりして。
What's wrong, Kei-chan? Why did you suddenly stop?
あ、ごめん。なんでもないよ。
Sorry. It's nothing. When I stopped, it was distant, but I definitely heard them. Footsteps? An extra set of footsteps. I knew it. That was proof. Proof that insane night hadn't ended. Mion left where she usually did. And finally we came to my house.
じゃあね、ケイチくん。
Okay, Keiichi-kun.
お家で待っててね。
Wait here for me.
レナ、すぐに迎えに行くから。
Reina will come pick you up soon. What was it? She was inviting me along on one of her oversized garbage treasure hunts at a dam site, right? But why now? Mion coming along was strange too. Mion may have accepted Reina's little hobby, but she hated fishing through garbage, so she'd never come with her before. And the location specifically being the dam site was a little creepy. They're gonna kill us. I don't know why, but for some reason, maybe they're gonna kill us. The dam construction site was completely outside the flow of everyday life. It was so remote that no one ever went there unless they thought to in particular. Nobody lived there. And there were no lights. So at night it got dark very quickly. I was being forcibly invited there. There was no reason I had to fear Reina and Mion. Besides, wouldn't the trouble I'd make by refusing them be a pain to deal with? In that way, it didn't seem like going treasure hunting with them was a bad idea. But that insane night was continuing. Haven't the sirens of instinct been wailing in my mind for a while now? Warning me that Reina and Mion were strange. That I needed to be cautious. The warning sirens were so freaking loud it felt like my head would split in two.
あ、レナ。
Reina.
俺、実はちょっと用事があるんだ。
I actually have something to do.
用事？
Something to do?
何の？
Like what?
なんのって。用事だよ、用事。
Like what? I just have something to do, okay? I don't think she's gonna like that.
用事なら、なんでみーちゃんがいるうちに言ってくれなかったの？
If you had something to do, why didn't you say it while Mi-chan was here?
みーちゃんとはダム現場で待ち合わせって言って別れちゃった後なのに。
I already told her to meet us at the dam site before we split up. Reina was smiling, but her words made her discomfort clear.
ごめん。
Sorry.
ちょっと言い出すタイミングを逃しちゃって。
Kinda missed the opportunity to say so.
本当に？
Really? You're lying, aren't you? You just made that up now, you liar. That's what Reina's eyes said to me.
俺、頭が痛いんだ。
My head hurts.
風邪かもしれない。
I might have a cold.
だから病院に行って薬をもらってきたいんだよ。
So I wanted to go get it checked out and get some medicine.
本当に？
Really? I told you she's not gonna like this. That wasn't really a lie. My head did hurt a little bit, so I wasn't lying. Reina, she can figure out my head hurt or not, just by looking at it.
なら仕方ないね。
Then, I guess that's that. After staring at me in the eyes for a few moments, she fired a sharp, needle-like stare at me. The tension in my body loosened, and I felt like my knees might buckle.
診療所に行くなら早く行った方がいいと思うよ。
If you're going to the clinic, then you should go soon.
あそこたまに早く閉まるから。
Sometimes they close early.
ありがとう。
Thanks.
そうするよ。
I'll do that.
必ず行くんだよ。
Make sure you go, okay?
病院。
To the hospital.
行くよ。
I will.
本当に行くんだよ。
Go. For real.
行く。
I will. It seemed like Reina had realized I was going to refuse her invitation for a while now. How serious she looks. She might actually call the clinic later to make sure I went. I couldn't say anything careless. Lying about getting checked out was just an excuse to decline a request in the first place. It didn't matter whether I actually went.
あ、ちゃんと行くよ。
Yeah, I'll go.
なんなら明日病院のレシートを持って行ってもいい。
If you want, I can bring you the bill tomorrow.
それいいね。
Oh, that would be good. Good going. Now you definitely had to make sure that you go.
必ずもらっておいてね。
Be sure to bring it, okay?
レナ、明日見るから。
Reina will look at it then. Another tingle started crawling up my back. There was no ignoring it. Reina and Mion must have been monitoring my movements. I'm getting a sense of deja vu here all over again. This time with Chapter 1, and how all of this seems awfully familiar to the feeling like as though Reina and Mion are monitoring our movements, suspicious at every little thing that every little excuse we make, and this feeling of rising fear and anxiety. This is all very freaking familiar to me. That wasn't normal. Far from it. All of it was insane. I did what I did because I wanted my peaceful life back. But what on earth was all this? It was far from peaceful. Something had gone mad, leaving the world out of order. With the other, Keiichi Maebara. Those creepy footsteps I've been hearing. With Reina and Mion acting so curious. And above all, with him being alive. Where was I? Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. I knew that much. Was this really the Hinamizawa I knew? That's what I want to know.
おい、前原圭一。
Hey.
ここはどこなんだ？
Keiichi Maebara. Where is this? I asked, whipping around before the front door, to face the one who had been following in my wake all day. Nobody would have been there, of course. Keiichi Maebara, huh? That's what I just called him. Called the one who'd been trailing behind me this whole time. That shadowy presence. Always clinging to me, like it was constantly watching for the opportunity to change places. His footsteps always following me was another impossibility. I don't know. I think we've already established as early as Chapter 1 that Reina can have a knack for stealth if she really puts her mind to it. It couldn't have been a ghost, so it was just impossible. So the strangeness must have been with my ears, my head, or Hinamizawa. Then maybe you really should get your head examined. Everything I could see was the exact same Hinamizawa I knew so well. And that gave me the creeps. Eventually, I decided to actually go to the clinic. I really didn't want to go outside. But a stronger feeling than that desire was the fear Reina might actually be keeping an eye on me to see if I went to the hospital. But before I went to the clinic, there was something I wanted to make sure of. It was at school. I pretended I'd forgotten something and was going back to the classroom to pick it up. Are you going to look for the bat? As soon as the thought crossed my mind, I was overwhelmed by paranoia. I was just going to the classroom, but I hated it so much, having to be so careful to fake it. After carefully verifying once more that nobody was watching, I went over to the locker. Yes, Satoshi's locker. I committed the crime with the bat I found in this locker. Satoshi's bat. And then, I had thrown the bat into the swamp. Which meant, the bat shouldn't have been inside. But, what if the bat was still in here? If the bat is still in here, then maybe I really did dream up everything that happened in the last episode. Or I did enter a parallel universe of sorts. It would have to be one of those two things, but either way, whatever the fuck is going on here, nothing is what we... I don't know what the hell's going on here. So let's just see if the bat's here. It was a very dreadful, incomprehensible idea. But if it was true, it would explain a lot. If the bat was here, yesterday's events would have all been a delusion. No, an illusion. Not much of a difference, honestly, if you stop and think about it. I hadn't killed anyone, and I'd gone to the festival. I had a great time rampaging about with everyone. It would prove that Keiichi Maebara was really me. Proof that I was only under some strange assumption that I had killed Satoko's uncle. Proof that it had all been a wild fantasy. That would explain everything. Nothing happened yesterday. I had just gone mad, unable to separate my shocking, uncle-killing dream from reality. That would explain everything. If the bat was here, would I be able to accept that reality? If that's the reality, then I'm really gonna be worried here about your mental health here. Because we'll have to... What could cause you to basically hallucinate basically 2 whole days worth of planning and then eventually killing her uncle, along with that meeting with Takano? If it was here, nothing will have changed. If it was here, it would just mean I'd gone crazy. Preparing myself for the worst, I opened the locker. I was actually scared of opening it slowly, so I threw it open with a bang. And just like the first time, the choking scent of smell and sweat, like a stale towel, came flowing out. There was a baseball uniform, and some miscellaneous other things like notebooks. There was also a shoe pouch. And as for the bat, it wasn't here. Alternate universe. I'm going with that for now. Because right now, since the bat isn't here, the alternate universe theory is making more sense to me right this minute than delusion. That or everybody's memories mixing together with previous timelines or something. That too. And as for it was how I felt when I took the bat out. There was no doubt. Yesterday really happened. Now that I knew I wasn't a lunatic, I felt relieved. But at the same time, if I wasn't the crazy one, then Hinamizawa was. And now as evidence of reality I found just as difficult to accept. That's exactly like the sort of thing that a crazy person would say. I'm not crazy. You're the ones that are all crazy. Every one of you. Everybody else is crazy. I'm the sane one here. So, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't declare you legally sane just yet. Maybe. There was noise somehow creeping into everything I saw, and the world was losing a tiny bit of color. So, what did I know about last night now? Now that I'd made sure the bat wasn't there, I didn't need to be here anymore. Shall I go? For real? To the hospital? It was my first time going to the hospital, but from what I heard, it wasn't far from school. My mom had told me where it was. A big, easy-to-see road went straight there. I went past a shopping street, made a turn. It wasn't overly hard to spot the sign with Irie Clinic written on it. There was one other person, an older man, there in the air-conditioned waiting room. I went up to the counter and told him it was my first time here. The man behind the counter glanced at the clock and said there would be a short wait. It was almost 5. Clinic hours would be ending soon. As I sat in this unfamiliar waiting room, isolated from everyone, and let myself feel the cool air, I actually felt relieved. What should I tell the doctor when he comes? I could tell him I had a cold, but I was the very picture of health. Actually, I wanted him to check my head. I wanted someone to confirm for me whether I was really sane or not.
Maebara Keiichi-san.
Keiichi Maebara-san. Hello, coach.
診察室へお入りください.
Please come into the examination room. Huh? The voice from the other side of the examination curtain. I thought I heard it somewhere before.
こんにちは.
Hello.
ここでお会いするのは初めてですね.
This is the first time we've seen each other here. No kidding. Hello, Doc.
監督!
Coach!
監督って、お医者さんだったんですか?
Coach, you were a doctor? Yes, he's a doctor. I would have thought that his tense conversation with Ushi a while back, and the fact I referred to him as doctor, should have been enough of a clue. Now that you mention it, he did seem to know his way around when he was looking at my shoulder in the nurse's office. It would make sense if he was actually a doctor. Come to think of it, our teacher called him Irie-sensei, didn't she?
一応お医者さんなんかやっています.
Well, yes, I'm more or less a doctor here.
お医者さんはいいですよ.
Doctors have it really good, you know.
若いすべすべなお肌を見放題の触り放題.
You get to see and touch all that young, silky, smooth skin.
怪しいお注射で自由を奪って私だけの専属メイドに.
I could steal their agency with a suspicious injection and have them be my personal maids. Please don't say stuff like that out loud. You're gonna give people nightmares.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
今のを見てただけで風邪が治りました。
Just seeing that made my cold go away.
失礼します。
I'll be leaving now.
ペコリ。
Polite bow.
わったったった。
Whoa, wait!
前原さん。
My Bara-san!
冗談です。
A joke. It was a joke.
さ座って診察させてください。
Come, sit down and let me take a look at you.
聴診器を当てますから前原さんのすべすべのお胸を見せてください。
I'll need to use my stethoscope, so show me your silky smooth chest, Maibara-san. For some reason, I felt really relieved. After that insane night, as much as I thought everything had gone crazy, Coach was here doing the same thing he always did. I was very happy for that.
風邪ではないようですね。
You don't seem to have a cold.
むしろ全身の擦り傷や切り傷の方が痛々しいくらいです。
Actually, those scrapes and cuts all over you seem to be a painful thing. You mean from all my stuff from yesterday? Then that's also evidence that everything that happened last night did actually happen.
ひょっとして半袖半ズボンで藪の中に入って遊びましたか？
Don't tell me you were playing in the bushes with short sleeves and shorts.
切り傷から破傷風菌が入った可能性もないとは言えませんし。
I mean, I can't say for sure you haven't been infected with tetanus. As I was chasing that man last night, I kept being scraped by bits of trees. I didn't realize I had so many cuts.
昨日のお祭りではしゃぎすぎましたね。
You went a little too crazy at the festival yesterday.
若いというのはいいことです。
Enjoy that while you're young. And once again, I apparently went to the festival.
監督も行ったんですよね。
Coach, did you go too?
お祭り。
To the festival?
ええ。
Yes.
もちろんですよ。
Of course I did.
私こう見えても綿流しの実行委員会の役員ですからね。
I may be a doctor, but I'm also on the Watanagashi Executive Committee.
俺に会いましたか？
Did you see me there? This coach was the same coach that I'd always known. I felt like I could trust him more than my weird friends. So I asked.
実は私本部テントでずっと会長さんたちとお酒を飲んでたんで全然お祭りは見て回ってないんですよ。
Well, actually, I was drinking in the main tent with the chairman and others the whole time. I didn't go out to see the festival at all.
前原さんには会ってないと思います。
I don't think I saw you.
そうですか。
Oh,
変わった質問をしましたね。
that was a strange question.
ひょっとして今日寝不足ですか？
Perhaps you didn't sleep well last night.
いけませんよ。成長期はよく食べよく寝て育つんですから。
You can't do that. You have to sleep and eat well to grow up fine. Coach let out a laugh. He didn't laugh in an unnatural way like Mion and Reina did. Coach was okay. He was the coach from the world I knew. He wasn't someone from this abnormal world.
こんな話きっと変だと思うんですけど。
Well, this all might seem a little weird to you, but
笑わないで聞いてほしいんです。
I want you to hear me out without laughing.
ねえ、どうぞ。
Yes, go ahead.
思春期のシャイな悩み、大いに歓迎ですよ。
I greatly welcome any shy, bashful worries you might have as you come into puberty.
俺と瓜二つな人間がいるなんて
Could it
ありえますか？
be possible that I have an identical twin? Coach hadn't expected that question at all and couldn't say anything for a moment. But then he smiled calmly and quietly answered.
迷信ですが、世界には自分と全く同じ顔をした人があと2人いるなんて話を聞いたことがありますね。
This is just superstition, But I've heard before that everyone has 2 other people in the world who look just like them. I'm familiar with this superstition too. I first learned about it in The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.
いるならぜひお会いしてみたいものですが。
If there was, I'd certainly like to meet him though.
あと、おとぎ話にも自分の分身が登場する話がいろいろありますよ。
There are also plenty of fairy tales where a person's double appears.
ドイツのおとぎ話に出てくるドッペルのお化けなどは有名です。
The German ones about doppelgangers are probably the most famous.
ドッペルのお化け
Doppelgangers?
ええ。
Yes.
自分の姿に瓜二つなんだそうです。
They look exactly like another person.
不幸の前触れなんだそうで、これに遭ってしまうと近いうちに死んでしまうみたいな話らしいですよ。
Apparently they herald misfortune. And if you meet one, you're sure to die soon. I think that's how it went. When you meet them, you're sure to die soon. The story ended directly in death, plain and simple, and made my spine tingle. Coach wasn't saying it to scare me, though. He was just offering a casual anecdote, but that made it feel all the more real.
そのお化けがひなみ沢に出るなんて話はありますか？
Have you ever heard of one of those things showing up in Hinamizawa?
ええ？
What?
さて、どうでしょう。
Well, I can't say that I have. Coach must have thought he was being teased, so he laughed in an exaggerated way. But when I didn't smile along with him, his laughter steadily grew fainter.
すみません。ちょっと真面目な話のつもりだったんで。
I'm sorry. Well, I was sort of being serious.
いえ、こっちこそ笑ってすみませんでした。
No, I apologize for laughing.
何か気になることでもおありですか？
Was there something you were worried about? A lot of things, actually. I wondered if I should tell him. Then, after resolving myself one final time, I slowly spoke.
俺、昨日はお祭りに行っていないんです。
I didn't go to the festival yesterday.
そうでしたか。
Is that right?
お祭りは来年もあります。
Well, there will be one next year.
その時また。
And then you can...
そうじゃなくて
That's not what I meant!
俺は祭りに行っていないのに、みんなが言うには
I didn't
俺は
go...
祭りにいたらしいんですよ。
I didn't go to the festival. But according to everyone else, I was there.
こんなことってあるんですか？
Could that even be possible? After blinking his eyes in amazement, Coach thought seriously about what I was trying to say. And he answered, choosing his words carefully.
お話を整理しますね。
Let me make sure I have this straight.
つまり前原くんは綿流しのお祭りに行ったけど、その記憶がない
Meibara-kun,
ということですか？
you went to the Watanagashi Festival, but don't remember it. Am I right? I was trying to say something completely different. But I suppose any sane person would come to that conclusion. That night, Keiichi Meibara was actually at the festival, but I was saying I didn't go. That obviously meant my memories of going there had failed me. But that was absolutely impossible. That vivid act I had committed during the downpour couldn't possibly have been an illusion. All these scrapes on my body prove it, as does the fact the bat wasn't in the locker.
いえ、違うんです、監督。
No, that's not it, Coach.
俺は本当に祭りに行っていないんです。
I really didn't go to the festival.
気を悪くしないでくださいよ、前原さん。
Please don't take offense, Meibara-san.
前原さんにはこれまでに気づいたら見知らぬ場所にいたとか、そういう 記憶の欠落を経験されたことがありますか？
Have you ever had an experience where you were suddenly somewhere unfamiliar and you couldn't remember why?
ないです。
No.
それに記憶を失ったとかそういうのじゃない。
And I didn't lose my memories or anything.
だってその祭りの時間には別の用事を確かにやっていましたから。
Because while the festival was going on, I was definitely doing something
寝て
else.
て意識がなかったとかそういうのじゃありません。
It wasn't like I was asleep and unconscious or anything.
その用事は間違いなく。
You're certain you were doing something else?
大変失礼ですが、何かの思い込みでなく。
I know I'm being awfully rude, but are you sure you're not mistaken?
間違いありません。
I think I just remembered something. Towards the end of chapter 1, when Mion and Reina were with Keiichi at his house, and they were saying that they were going to basically going to get him checked out or something. If I don't remember I don't remember the events exactly down to a T, but wasn't there a coach? Someone called a coach mentioned? I think there was a coach mentioned during that encounter. The one where Keiichi basically flew off the handle and just beat them all to a pulp with the bat. Were they referring to, if I'm remembering this right, the coach they were referring to is this guy, weren't they? So that would mean that they were actually calling for a doctor for him. I know, hell of a time to remember something like that now, but, well, there it is. And I would think about this some more, but right now I'm going to choose to focus on what's in front of me. No, I'm not.
完全にはっきりとした記憶、いや事実です。
My memories are clear as day, and they were real.
お祭りの時間に神社にいなくてよそで別の用事をしていた。
During the festival, you weren't at the shrine, and you were doing something somewhere else.
それをはっきりした形で証明できますか？
Can you definitely prove that? Well, I could, but there is a problem with me doing that. That's right. Thinking it through brought me to this. There's only one way to prove that I wasn't at the festival yesterday. And that was to show that there was no doubt I had killed her uncle. Coach saw me struggling to answer, and his eyes looked a little cold. I guess they would. After all, from Coach's perspective, I was just a weirdo sputtering nonsense.
少し横になりましょうか。
Would you like to lay down?
心を落ち着けて楽にしましょう。
Maybe you should relax and take it easy for a bit.
別に横になりに来たわけじゃありません。
Sorry,
遠慮します。
I didn't really come here to lay down.
少し神経に高ぶりがあるようです。
You seem to be a little worked up.
鎮静剤を注射して少し目をつむってみませんか？
Why don't I give you a sedative that'll let you sleep for a bit? That seems a bit premature, I would say. I think, don't you need to follow a different set of procedures and all that stuff before giving him sedatives? All he's really saying from your perspective is that there seems to be inconsistency, well, with what everyone else is saying and what he remembers saying. So it's just like, I don't know, this seems a bit premature. That way. I'm not being strange! I realized Coach was treating me like a deviant, so I raised my voice.
気に障ったなら謝ります。
I apologize if I've offended you.
ですからどうか
So please,
落ち着いて。
calm down.
俺は絶対に祭りには行っていない。
I definitely didn't go to the festival.
それは本当に間違いないんです。
That's the truth!
分かってます。
I understand.
分かってますから、どうか落ち着いて深呼吸を。
I understand, so please, calm down, take a deep breath.
あんたは全然分かっていない。
No! You don't understand at all! Coach was stunned and stared in stupefaction. Now, that's a new
分
word.
かっていますよ。
I do
前原さん。
understand, Maibara-san.
あなたは昨日はお祭りに来なかった。
You didn't go to the festival yesterday.
そうですよね。
Is that right?
私は信じます。
I believe you.
信じますよ。
I believe you. Don't placate him. You might make him angry. Coach jotted down a brief note in his records. He was writing it in German, so that his patient wouldn't know what it said. But I could make a good guess as to what he wrote.
あの時間に何をしていたか全部話さないと信じませんか？
You won't believe me until I tell you everything I was doing at the time, will you?
いいえ、信じますから。
No, I believe you.
どうか座ってください。
Sit down. Before I sat, I tilted my head back a little. The blood in my face all drained out, and I quieted down. After taking a deep breath, I made sure I was calm now.
俺が祭りの会場にいることはありえない。
It would have been impossible for me to be at the festival.
なぜならその時間に
Because
俺は
at the time I was... Should I tell him or not? I really didn't want to go on living like this. Feelings this horrible. And I said them. The final fatal words.
聡子の王子を殺していたからです。
Because I was killing Satoko's uncle at the time. Well, I'm impressed. You actually just said it. I didn't think you would. I could smell the concrete in the room. I could feel the air around us sharpen. Nobody moved. Only the sound of the clock ticking told us time hadn't stopped. With his mouth wide open, Coach even forgot to blink for a little while.
あなたが聡子ちゃんの
You
おじさんを
killed Satoko-chan's uncle. Yeah, it's fine now, Keiichi Maibara. Don't hesitate. Admit it. With all your strength.
はい。
Yes.
俺が昨日の夜
Last night I did it.
殺しました。
I killed him. I could easily tell that Coach's mind had gone completely blank.
どうしてそんなことを？
Why would you?
いえ、
No.
それは愚問ですね。
That was a foolish question.
聡子を救う最も直接的な方法だと考えるに至り
I believed it
実
was
行しました。
I believed it was the most direct method of saving Satoko, so I carried it out.
後悔はわずかもありません。
I don't have any regrets.
そうですか。
I see. Coach smiled thinly and nodded a bit.
だから俺は祭りの会場にいるわけがないんです。
So I couldn't have been at the festival. I left the brightness of my house for the darkness of the outside. After that, I dug holes, made phone calls. I had my hands full. And then I attacked him, killed him, buried him. He was pouring hard at the time. The festival started that evening, but was suspended due to the rain. There were no gaps in my memories. From the late afternoon until it started to rain, there was no time for me to possibly have gone to the festival.
その体中の傷はその時に。
And those wounds, are they from that?
そうです。
Yes.
聡子の家を少し行ったところに 林道がありますよね。
There's a road through the forest near Satoko's
あ
house.
そこで襲い、逃げるあいつを追い、町に至る一本道で殺すに至りました。
I attacked him there. He ran, but I chased him. And finally killed him near the road that leads to town.
それは本当に？
Is that true? Killing her uncle. It wasn't some wild fantasy. I could tell that Coach didn't believe me. So I spoke slowly, not letting myself grow excited.
本当です。
It's true.
サトシのバットで殴り殺しました。
I killed him with Satoshi's bat.
そのバットはあいつが乗ってきたバイクと一緒に沼に捨てました。
I threw it and the uncle's motorbike into the swamp.
死体は殺した場所に穴を掘り埋めました。
I dug a hole, killed him and buried him.
すべて自分が一人でやりました。
I did it all by myself.
さとこちゃんのおじはバイクで通りかかったんですね。
Satoko-chan's uncle drove past you on a motorbike, did he?
ではあなたはそれを期待して延々と待ち伏せを。
Then you predicted he'd do just that and just waited.
あいつが家から出ないことは想定していました。
I assumed he wouldn't be leaving his house that day.
だから電話で適当な嘘を喋ってあいつが出かけるように仕向けました。
So I lied to him over the phone to get him out.
電話で呼び出した。
You called him.
でもあなたの家とさとこちゃんの家は離れています。
But your house is so far away from Satoko-chan's.
電話をしてからではとても待ち伏せに間に合わないのでは。
I wouldn't think you'd be able to make it there so soon after calling them.
襲撃予定場所から最も近い電話として学校の電話を使いました。
I used the phone closer to where I was going to attack him. The one at school.
でも前原さん、
But Maibara-san,
当日は日曜日です。
it was Sunday.
学校には施錠がされていて入れないのでは。
Wouldn't the school have been locked up?
偶然その時営林署の人が中に出入りしたんです。
A forest ranger happened to go inside for a bit.
その隙に入りました。
I slipped in when I had the chance. After that, Coach grilled me on a few different things regarding the incident. Well, all I think I can really say at this point, Keiichi is prepared to enjoy being stuck in a padded cell for a while. Because I'm pretty sure that that's exactly where this is all going to lead to. He made sure to question me carefully, looking for any contradictions in my account.
信じましょう。
I'll believe you.
あなたが昨日したことは夢とは思えない。
What you did yesterday doesn't seem like a dream. I explained everything, including minor details that only someone who had actually committed the act could explain. I could, of course. It was only yesterday. Coach realized that my story had no expedient coincidences or too convenient details that would have existed in a daydream or a delusion, and finally seemed to want to believe me.
これでもまだ俺が記憶をなくして祭り会場に行ったと思いますか？
So, do you still think I went to the festival and lost my memory? Coach slowly shook his head.
でもクラスのみんなが昨日確かに俺が祭りにいたと言います。
But everyone in class, they said I was at the festival yesterday.
そんなことがありえるでしょうか？
Is that even possible?
あるわけがない。
No, it's not.
きっとクラスの皆さんはあなたによく似た誰かとあなたを見間違えたのでしょう。
Your classmates probably mistook you for someone who looked very similar.
それに集団心理が働いて皆さんはあなたがお祭りにいたと錯覚してしまっているに違いありません。
Given how group psychology works, everyone just assumed that you had been at the festival. They couldn't have mistaken me. Me and all the rest said they were spending the time with Keiichi Maibara. It was much more than just having mistaken someone else for me. But saying that out loud would just confuse Coach. He spoke to me in whispered tones.
罪の意識はあるんですか？
Do you feel guilty at all? It didn't sound like he was criticizing me. And even if he had, I would have flatly said the same thing.
ありません。
I don't.
あいつのいなかった平穏な時間を取り戻すために行いました。
I did it so that I could return the peaceful days that he'd stolen from us.
だから、俺はあいつを殺したことなんかさっさと忘れて、これまで通りに生活するつもりです。
So I plan to forget all about having killed him and live my life as usual.
あいつが現れる前、聡子がいつも見せてくれたあの笑顔が戻った時、
Once
ようや
Satogo's
く
regular
全ては終わ
smile,
ります。
once Satogo's regular smile returns, the one from before he showed up, everything will finally be over.
犯行を誰かに目撃されたということは
Any chance that someone witnessed the crime?
ないと思います。
I don't think so.
目撃されてれば、もうとっくに逮捕されてるでしょうから。
If someone had seen me, I would have been arrested already.
私は医者です。
I am a doctor.
人の命を救う職にあります。
My job is to save lives.
だから私から人間の命を奪うことを肯定する旨の発言はできません。
So I cannot make any statements to the effect of condoning the taking of another's life.
だから私はあなたにこう言います。
So instead, I will say this. Coach slowly rose and placed a hand on my shoulder.
聡子ちゃんを救ってくれて
For saving Satoko-chan,
ありがとう。
I thank you. Coach's eyes started shedding warm tears. When I looked at him, I started to feel some tears of my own. I didn't know what I was crying for. And so for a little while, the two men in the room fought back their tears.
でも、おかしいんです。
But it's strange.
おかしいとは
What is?
確かに殺したはずなのに、あの男は生きて家に帰ったらしいんです。
I'm sure I killed him. And yet, he seems to have returned home alive. Coach's expression immediately sharpened.
状況にもよりますが、気絶や仮死状態など素人が見ると死んだようにしか見えない状態もいくつかあります。
Depending on the situation, there are many ways that mere unconsciousness can look like real death to a layperson.
その可能性は
Do you think it was possible he was just knocked out?
脈を取ったわけではありませんが、確実に仕留めたと思います。
I didn't check for a pulse, but I'm pretty sure I did him in.
前原さんが襲った時の状況を再現してもらってもいいですか？
Can I ask you to reproduce the situation in which you attacked him, Meibara-san? Coach rolled up a health and fitness week poster nearby and offered it to me, to represent the bat. Though I may have been lost to the emotions of a beast that night, I remembered in detail the number of times I swung the bat, the angles I had swung from, and the force I had applied. Using Coach as a stand-in for the uncle, I reproduced them over one by one.
そして、あいつが足を取られてよろめいた時、脳天にこう叩きつけました。
And when he tripped and fell, I bashed him in the top of the head like this.
その時、これまでとは違った手応えがありました。
When it did, it felt different from the other strikes.
頭蓋骨が割れたんだと思いました。
I thought I cracked his skull. Coach was calmly analyzing this information, using the places I'd struck in the situation at hand to find out what state the uncle's body had been in.
そして、死んだかどうか自信が持てなかったので、倒れた後も何度か殴りつけました。
I wasn't totally sure he was dead, so I hit him a few more times after he fell.
その時の反応は
Did he react at all?
初めは殴るたびに体が跳ねるような感じがありましたが、やがてそれもなくなり、何の反応もなくなりました。
First I sort of felt his body jolting with every hit, but eventually that stopped too, and he didn't react at all. Coach folded his arms and said, a few times. And then he spoke.
死んでいます。
He's dead.
ほぼ間違いなく。
There's not much doubt about it.
それは仮死状態ではなく、
He didn't just look like he was.
前原さんの話からだけではなかなか判断がつきませんが、ほぼ確実だと思います。
I can't say very much from just your story, Maibara-san, but I think it's almost certain.
それに前原さんは死体を泥の中に埋め、結構な時間をかけて埋めていますよね。
Besides, you buried the corpse in the mud, and that took you quite a bit of time, right?
仮に30分で埋めたとして、
Let's say it took you 30 minutes.
その男は30分間も泥水に沈められていたことになります。
That would mean he was buried under the muddy water for those 30 minutes.
それだけの時間、呼吸が止められたら確実に脳死します。
If you didn't breathe for that long, your brain will die no matter what.
殴った強さ以前に埋める過程で確実に絶命したと。
You mean even ignoring how hard I hit him, he would definitely have died while I was burying him?
そういうことです。
That's right.
30分間泥に埋められていて生きていられる人などありえません。
It's impossible to stay alive buried underground for 30 minutes.
ありえないですよね。
Possible. You're right.
でも
But
聡子は生きてると。
Satoko, she says he's alive. Coach, a doctor, just gave his stamp of approval that he was dead for sure. That made it seem all the more unfair that he could still be among the living.
前原さん、
Maibara-san,
これはとても恐ろしい想像なのですが、
this is a really horrible idea, but then maybe you should keep it to yourself.
前原さんが殺した相手が叔父でなく別人である可能性は。
Is it possible that the person you killed wasn't actually her uncle? Well, the subtitles... The subtitle... Well, the name Tepe totally told me that it was. The same person, I mean. Huh? He's right. That could be why. It cleared up the inconsistency of my definitely having killed someone, but him still being alive. That doesn't explain all the other stuff, though, about how you were somehow simultaneously at the festival.
そんなはずはない。
There's no way.
だってほら、監督と一緒に聡子の家の前で酒瓶の袋を運んだ時、窓から顔を出した男がいたじゃないですか。
I mean, we were both at Satoko's house when she was bringing his alcohol inside, and there was a man who stuck his face out the window to look.
あいつですよね。
It was him, right?
聡子のお家は。
That was Satoko's uncle, right?
ええ、
Yes,
間違いありませんよ。
you're not wrong.
あの男です。
It was that man.
実はもう一人おじがいるなんてことは。
Could she have more than one uncle or something?
聞いたことがありません。
Not one that I've ever heard of.
あの男だけです。
It's just him.
あいつの特徴を教えてもらえますか。
Could you tell me what he looked like?
まず身長がですね、
Well, his height first.
175、もう少しあるかもしれません。
He was about 175 centimeters, maybe a little taller. In order to eliminate the worst possibility that I killed someone else, Coach began to thoroughly compare what the man in his mind looked like with what I told him the person I killed looked like. But no matter how in-depth my description went, none of the characteristics differed. The uncle's traits, according to Coach, were all exactly the same as the person I'd killed. But those traits were all extremely vague, and they weren't particularly distinct at a glance.
もっとこう絶対にあいつだと識別できる特徴はありませんか。
Could you, well, is there anything else about him that would let us identify him for sure?
そういえば、私は見たことありませんが。
Now that you mention it, I've never seen it, but...
聡子ちゃんが昔、背中に虎だかなんだかの入れ墨がある、なんて言っていたような気がします。
I believe Satoko-chan once said a long time ago that he had a tattoo of a tiger or something on his back.
入れ墨。
A tattoo? That was really important. Not everyone had a tattoo. If I found a tiger tattoo in the back of the man's corpse, it would be proof I'd killed the right one. At the moment, though, there was one other thing that would verify this. To go to Satoko's house and see for myself the uncle that had returned home despite having died. But that'd be far more terrifying than digging up the body and looking at its back. Without even looking at the tattoo, I knew for sure the one I'd killed had been Satoko's uncle. I cracked his head open and killed him. And yet, he'd gone back home. There wasn't any misunderstanding, or even the shadow of a doubt in my mind about having killed him. And yet, it was impossible for him to exist. Kind of like how Keiichi and Maibara had been at the festival, despite it being impossible. That small commonality made me feel as though a faint but bizarre force was permeating this insane Hinamizawa.
一体どういうことなのでしょう。
I wonder, what on earth could have happened?
前原さんはお祭りには行かず、聡子ちゃんのおじさんを殺していたにもかかわらず、
Despite you not going to the festival and killing Satoko-chan's uncle,
お祭りにはあなたがいて、そして殺したはずのおじさんも生きている。
you were at the festival, and the uncle you killed is alive.
何がなんだかさっぱりわからないです。
None of this makes any sense.
そうやって整理して言うと、まるで俺が悪い夢を見ていて、実は殺人なんて存在しなかったんじゃないかと思えてしまう。
When I look at everything that way, it's almost like I'm just having a nightmare, and there's no killer at all.
でも事実なんです。
But it's the truth.
この手でバットでガツンガツンと殴ったあの感触は絶対に夢や幻なんかじゃないんです。
The sensation as I used my own hands, and that bat, to bash him again and again. It was no illusion or dream. Coach let out a slow sigh. Then after looking at the clock, got up.
ちょっとこの話、もう少し真剣にやりましょう。
Let's go over this all a little more seriously.
ちょっと失礼して、紅茶でも入れてきてあげます。
If you'll excuse me, I'll go put on some tea.
診療所も終わりの時間ですからね。
Clinic's about to close after all.
ジムの方とかも返してあげないと。
I need to let the other employees leave. And you're probably also going to go call for the cops to come arrest me, right? Coach stood up and went out into the hallway, leaving me alone. The clock was about to strike 6. I was at the festival, and the uncle I killed was alive. Had I really committed murder yesterday? The only whisper of a fact that proved it happened was the absence of that bat from Satoshi's locker. In any case, I was glad that Coach had taken my nonsense seriously. I'm still not sure about that. I just confessed to murder. Normally that would frighten a person away. But Coach didn't run. He cried with me. I was glad he did. Like so, my tension smoothly melted away, and I suddenly realized I really had to urinate. I thought to use the restroom while Coach stepped out. And you're gonna go right into the hall and then overhear him basically calling the authorities to come arrest your stupid ass. And then you won't have to feel like you have to pee anymore. In fact, you'll be feeling a different kind of sensation altogether. There was one across from the waiting room. As soon as I left the room, I saw Coach and 2 male doctors wearing white clothing standing in the shadows of the hallway nearby. I didn't particularly intend to eavesdrop or anything, but I was quite surprised upon noticing how uneasy they seemed. I hid behind the wall and quietly listened in. It seems like Coach was giving directions to the two doctors.
紅茶ですね。
Black tea. Or maybe they're going to try to sedate you first.
用意します。
I'll make some.
睡眠導入剤を入れて、種類は任せます。
Mix in the sedative you think best for the occasion.
味はミルクと砂糖でごまかしてください。
Cover the taste with milk and sugar.
急激な眠気に不信感を抱く可能性もあります。
He may grow suspicious at the sudden onset of drowsiness.
興奮状態に陥って暴れ出す可能性も。
It's possible he may get agitated and become violent.
その場合は取り押さえましょう。
We will handle that.
男性スタッフはまだ何人か残ってますか？
How many male staff are still here?
山犬が1人。
One mountain dog.
それに私たちを含めて3人です。
Including us, 3. What was all this? I think I was already agitated despite what Coach said. Was that it? Was it all just casual conversation? Was it a just casual conversation? It was only sounding unbelievable to me? Coach said he would bring some black tea and left the room. And in the shadows, he was telling his subordinates to put some kind of sleeping powder in the tea? Plus, they were getting extra help. In case I thought the son's sleepiness was suspicious and started getting violent? Keiichi, you really should have foreseen something like this, in all due honesty. I mean, you're confessing to fucking murder. Hey, wait! Keiichi Maebara! Calm down, calm down. There's no way something this stupid could be happening. I mean, he was genuinely listening to my story. And he even cried with me. Maybe he's good at crocodile tears. I thought he was the one person in Hinazawa who would understand. This was...
作り話か虚言の兆候があり、特に昨日の記憶が完全に混乱。
There are signs of fabrications or falsehoods, and his memories of yesterday in particular are completely confused.
虚実の区別の喪失。
He can no longer tell truth from falsehood.
多重人格等の精神障害に酷似しています。
It's quite similar to multiple personality disorder.
でも、こんな急激な精神障害の発症は普通では考えられません。
But as for how quickly this mental disorder emerged, it's just not normal.
あるいは先天的、もしくは引っ越し前からそういう兆候があったのか。
Maybe it's inborn, or perhaps there were signs of it before he moved here.
引っ越し前に精神科に通院例がないか調べたいところです。
I'd like to take a look at any records of him staying at a mental hospital before he moved here.
とにかく前原さんには穏便にお休みいただきます。
In any case, I want him to take a quiet nap. The two doctors nodded deeply.
前原さんのご両親にも連絡しておいた方が良いですね。
I should probably contact my Barakun's parents too.
何と言えばいいか言葉が思いつきませんが。
Well, I can't think of what to tell them.
彼の自宅の電話番号を調べてください。
Please find his home phone number for me. My eyes, still moist, began to shed tears once more. This was too cruel. I really thought he had actually understood and had believed what I told him. But now, from the other side of that wall, he was bluntly treating me like a crazy person. I believed you. I believed you! I had let down my guard, because I thought you were the only ally I had left after that insane night. Was that a lie? All that about thanking me on Satoko's behalf. Were you just pretending in order to keep me placated? Most likely, yes. Ugh! My tears fell to the floor in frustration. I was an idiot. I was an idiot! I was such an idiot for believing that bastard! I heard footsteps approaching the doctors. A man in a dress shirt with no tie came running up.
Irie 先生、
Dr. Irie,
大変です。
it's terrible.
高野さんが見つかりました。
They found Takano-san.
高野さんが
Takano-san?
一体どこに？
Wait, where?
それが
Well,
山中で焼死体で発見されたらしく、
apparently they discovered her burned corpse in the mountains in Gifu. So it was her corpse, then. That settles it. It's exactly the same as in Chapter 2 as well.
死んだ？
She's dead?
高野さんが。
Takano-san. The men, all surprised, exchanged glances. Dead? Takano-san? Hey, wait. So then, does that mean when I cursed her, wishing for her death, that wish was granted? Yeah, that's okay. I think you might be considering that possibility a bit too seriously here. I mean, that sort of shit doesn't really happen.
焼死とは一体どういうことですか？
I mean, she didn't even die the way that you wished her to. What do you mean burned corpse?
それは事故ですか？
Was it an accident?
県警の発表では他殺の可能性が極めて高いと。
According to the statement from the prefectural police department, the possibility is extremely high that she was murdered. As I cried, I laughed quietly. Serves you right. Serves you right. If I had run into that woman, my murder would have been perfect. But she just had to come driving up to me and try to coerce me like that. I regret not having killed her on the spot. But now she was dead anyway. Honestly, I don't think it really would have mattered if she found you or not, given how everything's played out so far. Since that night. My curse, my wish for her demise. It was fulfilled. Serves you right. Serves you right!
リサさんが死に、高野さんが死に。
Risa-san died, and Takano-san
一
died.
体ひなみ沢には何が起こっているというんですか？
What on earth could be happening in Hinamizawa? Risa. Have I heard that name before?
まさかこれが今年のお社様のたたりだなんて言うんじゃないでしょうね。
Don't tell me. This was all Orishiro-sama's curse for this year? Like hell, I'll let the curse be real, Coach said. Everyone present just nodded as Coach cursed at no one in particular. Yes, maybe it wasn't Orishiro-sama, but this was definitely a spell. A curse! I wished for her to die. So she did! If this wasn't just a coincidence, and she died because I wished for it, then you'll die next, Coach! You betrayed me. You pretended to believe me, but deep down you thought I was a madman! Well, you're starting to sound a bit like one. You looked down on me with all that pity in your eyes.
では、とりあえず紅茶の準備を。
For now, get the black tea ready.
紅茶は私が持って入ります。私以外には彼は心を許さないようですからね。
I'll bring it inside. I don't think he'd let anyone besides me be alone with him. Shit. Shit. Shit! What do? What do I do, Keiichi Maebara? This time I heard the voice of a nurse.
入江先生。
Dr. Irie.
あ、いらっしゃいましたか。
Oh, there you are.
お電話です。
You have a phone call.
今ちょっと忙しいので、後でかけ直すと伝えてください。
I'm a little busy at the moment, so please tell him I'll call back.
誰からです？
Who is it from?
沖宮警察の大石様ですけど。
Mr. Ushi from Okinomiya Police Department. Funny he's calling now.
悪いタイミングですね。
Sheesh. What bad timing.
出ます出ます。
Alright, I'll answer it. Coach left to go answer the phone. The other men head towards the room with the teapot to make the black tea, like Coach had ordered them to. Fortunately, Coach having to take that phone call meant there would be extra time for me to act. I had to decide what to do now. Would I let him make me drink this sedative-infused tea? Or be held down and thrown into a mental hospital? Nothing would come from starting a brawl here. Climb out the window! They had more people anyway, and they were all bigger than me. If it came down to a fight, I didn't stand a chance in hell. If I couldn't win against them, then there was only one thing left to do. Run. Adrenaline suddenly rushed into my brain, and my body started to move with keen instinct, like it had on that night. My surface temperature quickly cooled, and the transmission routes between my cells enlarged. Using 360-degree visual information, I searched for an escape route. I would open the window behind me. Outside was a parking lot. There were no cars. A little beyond there was the bicycle I had taken to get here. I determined that this would be the quickest method of escape. I approached the window swiftly, but with little sound, to raise as little suspicion as I could. With the speed and silence of a shadow, like I'd had on that night, I chased her uncle. I unlocked the window and opened it up. A cool evening breeze wafted in. I stuck my head out and looked over the parking lot again. Nobody in sight. No need to hesitate. I quietly crawled inside and closed the window behind me. I held my breath and listened carefully. Nobody seemed to have realized I'd run. I looked around. Then, I jumped onto my bicycle and zoomed away. The pedals clattered under the force. Had my bike always creaked like this? Did the pedals always whine every time I pushed down on them? My bike wasn't the only one crying, though. My tears fell as the wind cut through them. This mental image is more ridiculous in my head than it probably should be. They rode the breeze and scattered behind me. Ugh. I hate this. I hate this! I'm not the crazy one. Hinamizawa is! How dare you treat me like a madman? Die! Die! Just fucking die already! I believed you. I believed you! Ah! I'd gone to the hospital in order to escape Rina and Mion's invitation. But the reality that was waiting for me had been too cruel. Who was insane? Me or Hinamizawa? Or was the answer something else? Maybe you're both insane. I started having trouble breathing. I didn't have any clue what was happening anymore. The loud chirps of the Higurashi were irritating me. Were the Hinamizawa Higurashi I knew so well calling into the wind? No, that wasn't quite it. They weren't calling. They were crying. Higurashi, when they cry! The pained wailing of those lost in some kind of rhythm, in another world, no longer able to return to their own sunlight. I didn't do all that to end up in a world like that. And actually, about this time, I might have been having fun with everyone else. Satoko would have gotten her smile back after realizing her uncle wouldn't ever come home. And she might have shown it to us at our first club meeting in a while. That was the kind of world I wished for. So, what was this? Why did I end up in such a strange, ghastly world? Someone I killed was living like normal, and I enjoyed myself at the festival despite not being there. I don't want this. I don't want this strange world. When did it start to go wrong? When? When? Well, if we're talking about when things started getting, well, maybe around the time you snapped and decided to go kill the guy, maybe that's when things started going wrong. Because ever since then, everything's been going steadily mad. No matter how much I thought about it, I never understood. I rode swiftly and returned to my home. It had begun to rain during my journey back, and just like yesterday, I was now soaked. But I didn't care about something so trivial right now. The pain I felt in my heart that Coach, the one person I trusted, was acting so cruelly was far worse. I'm pretty sure he probably called your parents already. Did I have no allies in Hinamizawa anymore? With the naive thought that I at least wanted my parents to side with me, I stepped up to the front door. Wait, Keiichi. It'll be dark soon. There's something you want to check, right? Yes. I wanted to dig up the man's corpse and get a look at his back. If there was a tiger tattoo there, I would know beyond a doubt he was Satoko's uncle. That long night wouldn't end until I was certain. If this insane world was all reparation, all a divine punishment, then I needed to make certain whether I had been successful enough to even deserve to pay that price. I went to the storage room again and got the shovel. It had been washed in the rain, but the paint was peeling, making it look unsightly. I never ever wanted to touch this thing again. The sensation of it in my hands was totally different from the night before. There was a ruthless coldness about it. Yeah, it'd be dark soon, so I'd need the lantern too. There'd be a little bit of light from the streetlights, but it would get extremely dark. I thought I put the lantern here, but I suddenly noticed it wasn't anywhere to be found. Well, that just sucks. Then it hit me like a bolt of lightning. Of course. On that night, I hadn't brought the lantern back with me. I left it at the place I buried the body. If I didn't go get it soon, it would get very dark. And then, not only would I be unable to find the spot I buried the corpse, but I wouldn't even be able to find the lantern itself. If that happened, it was all over. I think it's already all over for you, Keiichi.
Isogo.
I need to hurry. In order to fit the shovel in the basket on the front of my bike, I need to twist it and disassemble it. But it looked like there was dirt in the joints. No matter how hard I pushed, it didn't want to come apart. After a strenuous effort, I realized I couldn't get it apart. So I decided to hold it in one hand and ride my bike with the other. With the downpour soaking me through, and the shovel in one hand, and it raining on you all over again. Deja vu, and riding one-handed. It was as if I returned to that night. No, return was the wrong word. It was more like that night had never ended. The pain of the raindrops striking me were no different from then. The thing that was different was Hinamizawa. The world and nothing else. The rain clouds were already making it dark, and now it was about time for the sun to set. I could tell it would only get rapidly darker. The straight road leading to town. In the middle of it. That should be where I buried it. Yes. It was near that streetlight. On that night, too, the water from the downpour was splashing down from the streetlight's overhang like a waterfall. The pouring rain was exactly the same as it had been that night, and thus it brought my memories into focus. I left my bike in the brush and stepped into the forest. The ground already soaked with mud. Where had I buried him? Think. The darkness, the shadows, the water, the mud. Everything was the same. Think. And then I spotted the lantern by a fallen, moss-covered tree. That's right. I left it right there. If I left the lantern here, then I would have buried him over there, over here. With the sensation of standing in the sludge, my feet remembered the spot better than my eyes did. I plunged my shovel into the ground. It's hard. It wasn't here. I just dug it up, so it should have been softer. I stick my shovel down in a few spots to test what they feel like. One of them clearly felt deeper. I recalled where the lantern was, where the trees and things were in relation to each other, and knew it had to be here. Under here slept that man's corpse. There would definitely be the tattoo of a tiger on his back, but if it wasn't there, then I had made a horrible mistake and killed someone completely unrelated instead. I would be more dazed at the fact that Satoko's uncle wasn't dead than I would regret having gotten someone else mixed up in this. You got your priorities mixed up big time. This insane world is punishment for the sin of committing murder. I wouldn't be able to accept it until I killed Satoko's uncle for good. And then, without any fear, I'd attack him again. And that time, I would kill him for sure. But what if the tattoo was there? That would mean I killed Satoko's uncle. But that would be terribly strange. If I killed him for sure, then who was the uncle at Satoko's house this very moment? Impossible. I didn't even know anymore what I was using the word impossible to refer to. I used the word quite a few times today. If I had to make the words impossible fit just one thing, what would it be? That much was obvious to me. It would be impossible for this crazy world to be real. I shouted, then turned behind me. There was nobody there, of course. It hadn't been bothering me for a while, but those footsteps had followed me this entire day. Even just now, an extra set of footsteps had splashed behind me. No one was actually there. No indications of anyone, even. But they were there. Who are you? You've been following me ever since I came to this world. That's right. Thinking back, The first time I heard these footsteps was after Takano-san and I had parted. Those footsteps were my welcome to this strange inside-out world. No one could be there. I'd get no response. Whoever it was, they just kept staring at me. It wasn't ominous, just unpleasant. After staring into empty space for a bit, I bathed in the rain. My illogical anger slipped as it slipped away. My tensions loosened. An entire feeling reared its head. I tasted this feeling that night too. The sudden exhaustion I felt as the tension in my brain loosened. My vision quickly narrowed, and I felt like everything around me had suddenly gotten darker. I couldn't give in to this sensation. I would light what little explosives were left in my brain and force myself to keep going. I needed to dig that man up before my stamina ran out. I needed to see the tattoo on his back. I caught my suddenly ragged breath and calmed down. Then, I struck the shovel into the soft, muddy ground again. It felt exactly the same as that night. The sense of digging a hole in the beach, with water coming into it with every wave. What was yesterday today? Had I gone back to the night of Watanagashi? Every strange thought that came to mind tormented me. Given my exhaustion, I didn't think I could manage to hold those thoughts back. Once the hole was deep, all illumination finally faded, blanketing my vision in jet black. It was probably the moment the sun had fully set, too. That night, I had feared the worst, and gone without using much light. My senses were so strange that I could see even in that darkness. But now, I didn't have that kind of strength left. I drained everything I had last night, and now the darkness would be lethal. I decided to turn on the lantern. Putting on the first setting would make it give off a faint light. Even with how little there was, it was enough, and people wouldn't be able to see it from far away in this rain. I grabbed the chilled lantern, turned the dial with a click, set to the weakest light setting, and turned it on. An uncanny world of silhouettes appeared before me. A complex and strange, shadowy world created by the intricate entanglement of trees and branches. I had only turned on a light, and it was like that was all it took to make the world into something else. I let out a quick, tired breath and wiped the fluid, neither rain nor sweat, from my brow. Then I raised the shovel into the air and slammed it into the mud. That moment, the silhouettes surrounding me ominously all moved at once. Don't think about it too much. It's just probably the light, a trick of the light. Inside my head, something packed in there. Something coarse, but not hot or cold. It was loudly rushing about. The silhouettes were all around me, looking down on me. And one of them, a silhouette bigger than the others, stepped forward.
こんばんは。
Funny, running into you here. Good evening.
月の綺麗な晩ですね。
The moon sure is beautiful tonight. Funny, somebody said that to me very recently too. The coarseness in my brain shot through my whole spine and left me at my waist. The strength in my body all left me through my hips. And I crouched down with a splash. Into the sea of mud I dug myself. You managed to find me here because of what the doc told you over the phone, right?
Oishi.
Whooshi.
目上の人にはその後に3もつけるとなおよろしいかと思いますよ。
Is that really how you address your elders?
そうでないと大人になってからいろいろと苦労します。
You'll have a rough time of it once you become an adult. It wasn't only Wushi, but 5 or 6 of them in a row. Men wearing raincoats. So I guess it really wasn't a trick of the light then. Joke's on me. I had no inkling that this many people had gotten so close. It was like, once I turned on the lantern, they must have appeared there, sliding out of the shadows.
どうぞ私たちのことは気にしないでください。
Please, don't mind us.
森の木立だとでも思って。
Just think of us as trees in the forest, perhaps. Okay, then you just stay quiet and sway in the wind while I go about my business. Don't mind them?
そうです。
Yes.
私たちのことは気にされず、どうぞ穴掘りをお続けになってください。
Pay no attention to us. Please, continue digging your hole.
こんな時間にこんな土砂降りの中で。
It's very late and raining very hard.
そんなにも真剣にやっているんですからね。
And you're working pretty fervently.
邪魔なんかしませんよ。
We won't get in your way.
心ゆくまで掘っちゃってください。
Please, stick to your heart's content. Keiichi, give up. We're fucked. We are well and truly fucked. There is nothing we could possibly do at this point. We're surrounded. Like I was telling you earlier, man, just get ready to enjoy a life of straitjackets and padded rooms. Because that's likely where we're going after this night. No, thank you, I said. When I tried to get up and turn around, 2 men blocked that route. They stood on either side of me and lifted me up with amazing strength, then threw me into the sea of mud. Police brutality! As I soaked in the mud bath I dug for myself, I looked up at the silhouettes looking down at me. Wushi squatted, picked up my shovel, and threw it at my feet for me. It bounced loudly off the mud and hit me in the face. Ow!
ほら、
Come,
続きをどうぞ。
please continue.
続きを。
Continue. I couldn't bear the impressiveness of the silhouettes surrounding me. And slowly, I stuck the shovel into the mud again. I felt like I was digging my own grave. Metaphorically speaking, yes, you are. If I kept digging, it wouldn't matter whether there was a tattoo or not, because that man's corpse would appear eventually. all over. Surrounded on all sides, and nowhere to go. But I just couldn't figure it out, no matter how much I thought about it. Why were they here? I think I've already proposed a pretty good theory as to why they're here. Slow on the uptake as always, Keiichi. Although, to be fair, I do have my moments too. Was it Takano-san? There was only one person who could have made a connection between me and this place. Shit. I knew it. She deserved to die!
手が休んでますよ。
Stopping so soon. Gah! Damn. Wushi kicked me in the back, which took me by surprise, sending me flying into the mud.
ちゃっちゃと掘っちゃってくださいよ。
Hurry up and dig, please.
雨の中で待たされる方の身にもなってほしいもんです。
You really should consider the fact that some of us are standing out here in the rain. Well, you kicking me isn't really gonna help things all that much, you know. What if you kick me too hard and I get injured? Fuck you.
そんなに雨が嫌なら帰ればいいだろう。
If you don't like the rain, then just go home. Gah! Ushi kicked some mud into my face.
口より先に手を動かしてください。
Work, please, instead of talking.
口と手を一緒に動かすのは落語家だけ。
Only stage actors do both at once.
ねえ。
Isn't that right, boys? The men around him didn't react, not quite knowing whether they should laugh. But when Wushi glared at them, they started mumbling out pained chuckles. Just who was this guy? I knew the world had changed after that night. If I went even further back, didn't it start when this guy showed up? That was when our peaceful days had been taken from us. Ever since he showed up in Hinamizawa, things had been odd. Everyone stopped smiling, and the world went crazy. So if I kill this man, everything will go back to normal, is where you're gonna go with this train of thought, right? The ground under my feet gradually got harder and heavier. At this point, even I started to think something was odd. I hadn't buried him this deep on that night, had I? My exhaustion peaked, and I sat down on the spot.
いつまで掘ればいいんだよ。
How long do you want me to dig?
最近の若い人は体力がありませんね。
Kids these days have no stamina.
おい。
Hey, you. At Ushi's gesture, the men all pulled out their own sinister-looking shovels. I want to know what a sinister-looking shovel looks like. As I watched the daze, one of them grabbed my collar, dragged me out of the hole, and threw me to the ground. The rest of the men stepped into the hole I dug and started shoveling themselves. As I stared at them, dumbfounded, Wushi sauntered over and squatted down to look at me directly.
前原圭一さん。
Keiichi Maebara-san.
あなたの趣味は雨の夜の穴掘りですかな。
Is this a hobby of yours? Digging holes on rainy nights? Is that a crime, officer? When I didn't respond, Wushi took one of the tin buckets they were using to bail out the muddy water, scooped some of it, and splashed the whole thing in my face. I'd have half a mind to take some of that mud and splash it on your face, too. Even if that would undoubtedly put me in a world of hurt.
今日は大雨ですから。
The rain's heavy today, too.
これ以上いくら濡れても全然わかりませんね。
No matter how wet I get, I still don't understand the appeal. Ushi smiled to himself, then scooped up another bucket full of muddy water.
もう一回聞きますよ。
I'll ask you again.
あなたの趣味は雨の夜の穴掘りですかな？
Is digging holes on rainy nights your hobby?
そんな趣味のやついるもんか。
Who the hell would have a hobby like that? Splash. Ushi hit me with another bucket full of water. The pebbles in it stung.
あの穴を掘ると何が出てくるんですかな？
Will there be something in that hole?
私、花坂じいさんのここ掘れワンワンってのが昔から憧れでしてね。
You know, about the old man who could make plants bloom, and the puppy digging in his yard for gold. As he spoke, he ran the bucket through the muddy water again, splashing my face again.
あそこにどんな宝物が埋まってるんですかね？
What kind of treasures is buried down there,
私にちょっとだけでも教えてくれませんか？
Can you at least give me a hint? If you want to know, then dig on your own time. You fucking pig! I wasn't saying that out loud. But Ushi mercilessly drenched me in muddy water again anyway. Shit. Shit. Shit! If only you hadn't shown up, the world wouldn't have gone wrong. Ever since you showed up, things have been strange. Satoko got abused by her uncle. I ended up killing him. And the world went crazy. He was how it all began. Because of this culprit! He splashed another bucket of mud in my face. My insides were seething with anger. Die. You die too. If I have some strange powers to kill someone by cursing them, like with Takano-san, then you're dead! And it won't be Orishiro-sama's curse. It'll be mine. I'll curse you and kill you!
反抗的な目つきですね。
What rebellious look you're wearing.
これを機に少しそのあたりをお勉強してしまいましょうか。
Why don't we use this opportunity to teach you a thing or two in that regard?
今は平和な時代ですがね。
We really do live in peace these days.
私があなたくらいだった頃は何でも鉄拳制裁が普通でして。
When I was about your age, corporeal punishment was the norm for everything.
大石さん。
Ushi-san. One of the digging men in raincoats wiped some sweat off and called Ushi-san over. Ushi tossed the bucket away, then turned around with an evil grin on his face.
はいはい、何でしょうか?
Yes, what is it?
これを見てください。
Please, look at this. Acceptance, or maybe resignation. I wanted to say it to them. So you blockheads finally found it. Yeah, that's right. I'm the one who killed him. But you're the police, so it's your own job to figure out who he is, right? Come on! Prove to me that he's really Satoko's uncle.
何ですかこりゃ。
What on earth?
多分古い排水管ではないかと。
We think it's an old drain pipe?
あそこの用水路に繋がっているようです。
It seems to be connected to the irrigation channel over there.
ぶっ壊しちゃいましょうか。
Let's smash the thing.
どうせ使ってない缶でしょ?
It's not being used, is it? The men all exchanged glances, then hesitantly broached another topic.
おいさ。
Wushi said.
もうかなり手応えが硬いです。
The ground there is pretty hard.
これより深くってことはありえないと思います。
I don't think anything could be deeper than this.
掘る場所を間違えました?
Did we get the location wrong? That's what I'm wondering.
いえ、初めのうちは明らかに掘り返す感触でした。
No. At first it definitely felt like the place had been dug up before.
ですが、このくらいを掘った頃から急に硬くなりまして。
But after digging so far, the ground suddenly hardened.
多分、もともと掘った穴よりも深く掘り進んだのだと思います。
We think we've gone down far further than the hole that was originally dug.
じゃあ、つまり何ですか?
So, what does that mean? Either the guy I killed was alive and dug himself out of that hole, or there was no man I killed and put into a hole to begin with. So, maybe I did hallucinate some shit? That's the case. This is one hell of a long-ass freaking hallucination. So what does that mean?
ここには穴があって、何もなく、ただそのまま埋め直されたと。
There was a hole here, and someone filled it back up.
皆さん、そうおっしゃるわけで?
Unless, for some reason, somebody managed to find the body and dig it back up and take it out and fill the hole back up. But who the hell would do that? I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just tossing the ideas out at this point. Is that what you're trying to tell me? What were they talking about?
こりゃ参ったな。
Well, well, I'm at a loss.
ねえ。
Aren't you?
前原さん。
Maibara-san. Wushi grabbed my collar and dragged me into the huge hole they dug. The mud inside was like an ocean, and I couldn't see any drain pipe down there. One of the men stirred it with a shovel, letting me hear it clang against something hard. There's no doubt I buried him right here. But I hadn't buried him this deep. I didn't dig deep enough to unearth an entire drain pipe. So, then, this man, his corpse, where was it? Proof that I'd been successful in that night, was gone. 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 Is Dr. Irie actually onto something with what he was saying to those other doctors? And I'm still trying to figure out just what's going on here, but at this point it's starting to look to me like me walking into an alternate reality, or me just somehow dreaming up the entire last 2 nights is starting to look more and more true in equal measures to me currently. Although I guess if I'm being honest, I think currently I'm leaning more towards the idea that maybe I dreamed all of that shit up. Or at least in part. I mean, with Satoji's bat being gone, him having all those scratches and all that stuff, and the lantern and all that stuff being here, I am pretty sure that Keiichi was here last night. But what if he didn't actually go and kill the man like he thought he did? Like, and I don't know, maybe he was just running around literally chasing phantoms and swinging at shit, but not really attacking anybody or anything in particular. In that case, that would mean something inside him has made him essentially lose his mind around the time Satoko had her episode in class. but this doesn't make sense to me. He didn't suffer any kind of serious trauma or anything, and I don't think... Wait a minute. No. I thought I remembered something in this chapter, but I think I remembered something else from a different chapter instead. If you dreamt all that stuff up, then it had to have been sometime around when you decided to go and kill him. When Satoko had her episode in that classroom that day. Ever since then, your state of mind has just been a mess or something. Some things might have actually happened, while others didn't. And if that's the case, then that also begs the question: Is your sense of reality still malfunctioning right now? Are you still hallucinating some stuff that you've been dealing with? Like, what about all that stuff that everybody told us in the classroom? Or better yet, Mion and Reina's seemingly strange, hostile behavior towards you. It's an awful lot like what I remember seeing them act towards you a couple times back in Chapter 1. So, Chapter 1 makes a bit of sense to me because Keiichi was fed information from various sources about the curse of this village and all the people dying from it here, and all the reasons. And yeah, he was given some reason here to be actually a bit paranoid for his life in Chapter 1, and it went downhill from there. Like, he had some reason that was actually seemingly based in reality for the most part. Maybe not, undoubtedly, probably not to the extent that he was allowing his mind to just run away with him back then, but it at least had something tangible to act as a starting point for his growing paranoia then. I'm not seeing it here. I'm not seeing anything like that here. So then what the hell's causing all this? Then what on earth was I? Was I actually crazy after all? And just possessed by the delusion that I killed someone? That couldn't be. It was the unmistakable truth. It couldn't have been a hallucination. But now, the most important evidence that it hadn't been an illusion was gone. I killed him. I buried him. I had absolute unwavering confidence in that fact. Then, did I fail to kill him? After I left here, had he started breathing again, crawled out, and gone back to Satoko's house? Was that it? It really can't be, otherwise, in the mangled state he was in, there would have been a huge commotion about, well, the fact that someone came and beat him senseless with a bat. There would have been police activity all around town, or at least there would have been talk about it. I had come here to see whether he had a tattoo or not. And yet, the truth I unearthed was far more than that. Yesterday, what was I? I killed him. I buried him! There was no doubt. But for some reason he lived and crawled back out. And that was impossible too. Ugh, I'm so tired of hearing the word impossible over and over. I get it! Dead people don't like to play by the rules here in Hinamizawa. Any truer words have never been fucking spoken. Holy shit. Then, I'll kill you as many times as I need to. I'll keep killing you. Until you never show your face to Satoko again. Ushi and the others were muttering to each other. Eventually, the conversation ended, and Ushi came towards me. What did he want to say? What did he want to do? I stiffened, tensing up. Then, Ushi just ignored me like I wasn't even there. He passed right by me. The other men, too. They ignored me and shuffled away. Eventually, there was no danger. There was no longer a sign that anyone was around. And I returned to my quiet world of silhouettes. The only one left there was me. The only sound of the pouring rain filled up the silence. New tips unlocked. Inquiry request and record of malice. Good lord, this has been a long chapter. I think I'm just gonna end up splitting this thing into 2 parts. Because I think I'm just gonna go ahead and check out the tips here, and I imagine that by the time I finish and stop the video, it'll be near 4 hours long. And I doubt there's very many of you who want to sit through a 4-hour video. So, yeah. Let's check out the inquiry request. Okinomiya Police Station Command Center Transmission Recording. June 2nd, 8:08 p.m.
こちら沖宮 PS 感度良好です。
This is the Okinomiya Security Police. We read you loud and clear.
車両ナンバー紹介をお願いします。獅子骨歯の4344。
Hello. We'd like you to look up a license plate for us. Shishibone H-4344.
副将、獅子骨歯の4344。
Shishibone.
少々お時間もらえますがよろしいですか？
H-4344. All right. Please give us just a moment to look it up.
お願いします。
Thank you. Number match. Shishibone H-4344. Owner blank blank. Address blank Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. Vehicle make and model. Theft reports none. Special mentions nothing of note.
沖宮 PS より大石社どうぞ。先ほどのナンバーが判明しました。
Okinomiya Security Police to Oushi. We found the license plate from earlier.
大石社どうぞ。
Oushi, do you read?
大石社、応答願います。
Oushi, please respond.
あれ？
Hmm?
電波悪いのかな？
Am I getting a bad signal?
大石社、応答願。
Anyone in Oushi's car, please read.
出ませんね。
Nothing, eh?
大石さんが車両紹介？誰の車だよ。
Oushi-san wanted a license plate check? Whose car was it?
村人の車ですね。
Someone from the
至って
village.
平凡な。
A completely average car.
何者だよ。大石さんが聞いてくるからにはただ者じゃないんだろ。
Who was it? If Oushi-san was asking, then it can't be anyone good, right?
突起事項欄は完全に空欄ですね。S 号指定もなし。
The special mentions column is completely blank. No indication is related to the S group either.
減点もなしだし。
And no demerits on it.
バッシングでもされて腹が立ったんじゃないの？あの人根に持つとなかなか忘れないタイプなんだよ。
Maybe it passed him on the road and he got mad. That guy isn't the type to forget a grudge. Car belonged to someone from the village, huh? Interesting. Whose car is it? Record of malice. He said it smelled. He said the food smelled. He said it smelled because I smelled. He said I smell because I don't take baths. He said to take a bath 3 times a day because I was a smelly person. Well, not taking baths will make you smelly. He said I had to stay in the bath for a long time every time. He must be possessed by something too. This is the same thing the man who died said. Why does he know what that man said before? That much is obvious. The same thing that possessed that man is now possessing him. Can't a sudden earthquake make a big hole in front of the house? If it did, he would definitely go and look into it. And then I just have to push him in. I won't give in until I get that chance. I won't give in. I won't cry. I won't give in. I won't cry. Someone's apologizing again. I am not sure at all who that was, who was just ranting and raving there. But apparently, they don't take baths, and that's just not good for your personal hygiene. And of course, pushing people into holes isn't exactly a nice thing to do. Seems to me like you're smelly in both body and soul. Well, yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead and end things here. I wonder... I wonder what exactly what Keiichi's going to do, because I'm pretty sure he's going to go and confirm for himself at Satoko's house whether or not the uncle is alive. And if he does, will he just try to kill him right then and there? And then there's everything else that happened in this chapter. What with the recollections that the club members gave him when he came to school about him and the festival and all that. There's just so much stuff that just packed into this that I don't even know where to start when it comes to discussing all this stuff. Well, at any rate, I'm going to go cut things off here, and then I guess we'll find out, see if we can get some kind of answers next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Chapter 3. Almost forgot the chapter. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.